Hi, my name is Michael Poley, and I've never seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer. My friends are obsessed and always make jokes and references to it, and so now, 20 years later, I've been convinced to watch the show from beginning to end, one episode a week. I'm a Buffy virgin.
Hey! Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Buffy Virgin, where we discuss Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We are doing the episode The Zeppo this week, and we have with us, as always, the Virgin, Michael Foley.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. I've watched all of Buffy all the way up to the Zeppo.
And we have Teach, John Landis.
Good evening, everybody. Glad to be here.
And then as a special guest, we have returning David, the cartoonist Yoder.
Hey, thanks for having me back on.
So let's get started, as we always do, with great lines, followed by weird noticings trivia, questions, themes, predictions, my kill count, and recommendations.
Scene 1. Apocalypse in Sunnydale. I've got the car and I have to bail. I gotta stop these zombies from baking a cake. Forget the flour and add plenty of steak. I'm on a donut run, gotta get enough jelly. Jack's my new bud, but he wants to stab my belly. But not in a gay way. Probably cool if you feel that way, or so I said or used to say.
Would that make you happy?
Oh, managed to kill a zombie with the mailbox. Tell fate stop a demon with an orthodox. Meth is 57, Chevy Bel Air. Uncle Rory, I adore your car, I shall repair. Well, now that I'm a chauffeur, I'll have faith pop her shoulder, TBH. I feel like a poser. Now she wants me to hold her? Ladies usually say I'm the king of the pervs. But who just told me to watch those curves? Faith, yeah, she said it. Now I'm on nerves. I think I'm okay if I'm just hors d'oeuvres. Back to the fight, I got a bomb to stop. Gotta find that gang before they rot. Buffy's no help, she won't even tell me the plot. Did I mention I had sex?
I can't believe I had sex.
Back to the school, I quicken my pace. I got 3 zombies to kill and I'm in a race. The bomb's been set and it's gotta count down.
High chance of demon invasion in this town.
I stop Jack before the final tick. Hopefully I'm done being a dick, cause tonight I fought for a noble cause. By the way, Jack was eaten by Werewolf Oz.
It's all a day's work for Xander Harris. Don't fuck with him unless you're careless.
All right, so we have some great lines, starting with you, Mike.
Okay, I feel bad about this one. I'm going to do it anyway. So it's you know which one this is. Xander's grabbing a football and hits a guy, and then he apologizes. Boy, I'm so sorry. Bobby's throwing his arms like spaghetti. We're all just so sad for him. Is your lunch okay? What are you, retarded? That's it. Man, that made me feel all sorts of awkward.
Yeah. If you said that word in that context in my classroom, I would be writing you up right now, just FYI.
Oh, yeah, no, well, totally. I mean, it's not appropriate and wasn't appropriate in the 90s, but it was probably more common. But, yeah, no, the awkwardness of that scene and of watching a dude get bullied who's fought monsters is, like, so rough.
No, yeah, like, the R word, if we can call it that, is definitely still a thing among children. And I constantly have to explain to children why that's not cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because the kid defense is, everyone else says it. Right? Anyway.
Yeah.
That one jumped out. I was annoyed. I was like, oh, man, this stuff has aged poorly.
Yeah.
But then I remembered all the worst things that we said. Oh, anyway.
Oh, yeah, we said way worse things, for sure.
Don't have to get the whole Me Too thing, but that, anyway.
Yeah, Jesus.
Natalie Portman, right? That whole thing this week. I felt terrible about that.
Oh, I am not up to date.
I don't. Natalie Portman thing?
Natalie Portman talking about being in the professional, and after that, getting fan letters who have people with fantasies of her, and countdown to when she's 18 websites. And
I remember that website existing. I remember a friend of ours, who shall remain unnamed for obvious reasons, sending me that website.
Oh, yeah.
I
honestly felt a little less weird about that because she was our age. So it was like,
right.
The thing about like her being 18 was like not a thing for us. It was like, because she's always been cute, right?
I mean, I will say, I don't know why in all of this, no one has ever talks about what a creep Luc Besson is. This is a real sidetrack to what we're supposed to be talking about here, but Luc Besson's a total creep if you look into it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he married a woman that he met when she was like 13.
Mila Jovovich, or
No, somebody else, but it was around the time that he was working on The Professional or connected with that.
What was the age gap? Do you know?
I don't know exactly, but a lot.
Is it a Woody Allen age gap? Is it a Michael Douglas?
It's a Woody Allen age gap. Yeah.
Buffy Angel age gap.
What's the Douglas and his wife? She was
Catherine
in.
Zeta-Jones.
Yeah, what's the age gap? There's like 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah, no, I mean, at least though with Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, they met as adults. It's not like, and he's like an old dude and she's like a young lady, but like this is a situation where, and somebody should look this up and correct me on the facts because I wasn't prepared to talk about this, but
Yeah, we're really starting off swinging.
if you watch the extra features on The Professional on that DVD, it talks about how they did the casting for that, and there's an interview with Luc Besson's actual wife from that era, who is a woman that he met when she was a girl.
Gross.
And they met when she was a child.
Very gross.
And they married when it was legal, but I guess not a big deal because France, I don't know. But it's definitely not cool. And Luc Besson's a lot creepier than people want to talk about.
But not you, John. You're so
That's all.
brave. You're so brave, John.
How am I brave? What are you talking about?
No, I'm trying to be
You're
funny.
talking about
It's
it.
not working. Sorry.
Okay.
This is a good transition into my great line. Is this a penis metaphor? And then I have the other from Xander. Hey, they're not baking any cake.
You're still muted, John.
Oh, thank you.
John,
Excuse
you're
me.
muted.
I just like when Willow says, occasionally I'm callous and strange.
Yeah, I like that line a lot.
Which is not really true about Willow, but it's funny.
I wonder if that I wonder if like that like burning the marshmallow line that preceded to that was originally written for another character, and they gave it to Willow, and then we're like, this doesn't make any sense coming from Willow, so they wrote that other line.
Yeah, I feel like this has happened before, where there was a moment where Cordelia was like, "What? I can't have layers."
Yeah,
Where they have a character say something out of character, and it makes them seem more human because real people aren't a character, right?
yeah, they don't all just have their one thing.
Right.
Their thing. Yoder, you want to give a couple lines?
Okay, I picked way too many, I think, but that was real manly how you shrieked and all. That was Faith, and then Xander replied, "I think you'll find it was more of a bellow."
Why don't you do one more?
All right. Well, I'll go for broke with the really long one then, because I thought it was hilarious. Did you eat all the jellies, Giles? Did you want a jelly, Buffy? I always have a jelly. I'm always the one that says, let's add jelly into the mix. I can't even read all of it. We're sorry. Buffy had 3, and that was Willow. Calling out Buffy on all her jelly donut eating.
That was a good scene. I like that the jelly math adds up. Like, we'll talk about that later. All right, let's move on to weird noticings and trivia. Yoder, you have a comment about the beginning? About the opening scene?
I was just saying that the opening, like the set, seems really cheap, the design of that location, but the demon women or whatever, their makeup's really cool.
Yeah. Also, like, the moving camera at the beginning gives like Faith and Buffy like tracking shots, and it's like almost like they're trying to shoot opening credits in that scene. But I don't think those scenes ever make it to the opening credits. But those demons do look cool. Mike?
Oh yeah, so I like that opening scene a bunch, and it's really fun to hear see this kind of cloud spell. Willow magic to me, like where she is now, she feels like she's a level 3 wizard. In the previous episode, gingerbread, she talked about how many elements she was able to control. So it's like in the D&D side campaign that we're all playing, keeping track of experience points, Willow's like solid level 3 right now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, she's definitely recently leveled up. Like, she's no longer at the point where her spells will randomly fail, right? Like, her spells that she knows how to cast, she'll cast perfectly every time.
Yeah, she's like relied on more and more for her spell casting. It's kind of neat to see because it's like the show is not drawing a lot of attention to it and talking about like it's not like congratulations, Willow. It's just like, yep, Willow's taking care of this stuff. Giles can kind of like point at her and then she's going to take care of something. It's really fun change to the character.
Yeah, and she's become a part of the fighting part of the group, unlike Xander, and that is our story for. All right. Let's see. John, you say Giles' sources have dried up?
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. So Giles mentions that he's like, I could have known more about this nest of demons, but all of my sources have dried up since I was kicked out of the Watchers Council. I think it's odd to think that Giles' ability to be Giles previously was based on his connections with the Watchers Council, because that never seemed to be true before. It seemed to be something he was doing independently with his books.
Yeah.
Was it always true before that he was actually just like calling somebody up and getting the answers?
Well,
was there like a Watcher helpline?
He did call people sometimes. A lot of it came from books, but remember he would be like...
Well, he called somebody he had a personal relationship with once that I can recall. But that seemed more like a friend connection.
He calls, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
Different people. But yeah, not very often.
Yeah, it does seem like whoever he would be relying on would be more just personal, like, people that he knew rather than necessarily the Watcher Council. Like, they haven't seemed to do anything of good this entire series so far.
I think more Giles just said it to remind us, the audience, that he's been fired.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a new status quo change, right?
But it's still silly for them not to help him. The hellmouth opening affects us all. Giles calls him out later. He's like, "You're a bunch of idiots for not returning his calls, right?" Like for the council. Like, what a terrible organization. So many reasons. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. What if the hellmouth opened because a Watcher was fired? That would be a giant mess. All right.
Okay.
2 episodes in a row. Yoder.
Yeah, we get a Superman reference again. Xander refers to himself as Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. Not getting any of the good stories because Lois and Clark get them all. But I don't think Jimmy really wrote that many stories. He was like the photographer for Daily Planet.
He was originally a Cub reporter, but then he... But also, Superman's pal was his own series, so he had his own adventures on that. So
yeah,
I feel like I tried to talk about this before. I feel like Superman references are extra nerdy among comic book references, and it seems like if anybody among this group of people would get a Superman reference, it probably should be Giles, and he's the only one who doesn't get it, because even Cordelia gets it.
Yeah, that was odd later that Cordelia, if she was just around Xander too much, or what? Like,
Cordelia also makes the famous Zeppo comment, right? Like, she is on the nose for all these writerly things, so...
Yeah. Cordelia's reading comics and watching Marx Brothers movies. There's a lot more to her. She hides it.
Yeah. What? She can't have layers?
I think part of it too is probably like she was exposed to Xander for so long. It's probably all his crap. Like all the text that he made her read.
The horrible thing that we all do. New girlfriend, I must educate you in the ways of being a total geek.
Superman.
What do you mean you haven't seen Star Wars?
I disagree with you though that I don't think Giles would catch I mean, he's a nerd
because it's so American too.
He's not that kind of nerd. He's
not
a nerd.
I guess I feel like I think of Superman as my dad's generation's superhero. Like
yeah, rightfully so. He's terrible.
I've been throwing out a lot of old comics this weekend because I'm doing this purge, and I've been saving all my old Superman comics. I really like old Superman comics. They're super funny.
Yeah, I love the old Superman. Like that was one of my first introductions into comics. I think my dad realized like I was reading comics on my own, and then he brought up like his old comic book collection, and he had a bunch of those like 60s era Superman, and it'd be the ones like where like, oh, Superman's like eating 1 million cheeseburgers, keep serving him, he's hungry. It's like this doesn't like, or he's just being a super dick to Jimmy Olsen. It's great stuff.
Those are the great like when it's not like I've got to overpower this incredible thing by lifting incredibly heavy things. When it's like using his power as like comedic things, like I don't know, when he like needs to pay a really large restaurant bill, so he like goes and finds sunken treasure. Like those are like ridiculous uses of his power.
When did Superman lose his sense of humor? Because I am not familiar with these versions of Superman. I've read Superman comics. They are humorless. It's usually like, we've discovered a new kind of kryptonite. Like we talked about in the last episode, right? New kryptonite does this specific thing to Superman. Sorry,
I'd say they were really funny, like up until like the end of the 70s, maybe.
Yeah.
Or probably, yeah. Then they got really serious. Anyway,
Does it follow the same arc of Batman, where Batman is like really goofy and then gets like more serious in the Frank Miller era?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, like, serious Batman is stupid, and I hate it. But
Yes,
like,
agree hard.
you know.
I agree with that so hard.
I disagree, but
it makes sense. But serious Superman makes no sense at all. Like like you know, in Man of the visual, even the visuals of trying to like make Superman darker. So now he wears dark blue and like a maroon. Fuck that shit. All right. Let's talk about the Jack O'Toole and Cordelia scene. I say Jack O'Toole is a really dumb name. He sounds like a pumpkin hammer, because you know a jack-o'-lantern is using a pumpkin to make a lantern.
Is like, did anybody else notice that he was eating crackers out of a Ziploc bag in that scene, which I feel like is not cool.
Yeah, my favorite shot is like when after the confrontation when Cordelia's making fun of him and they cut back to him and he's eating the crackers in like a barely human way, like like a man who's just discovering how to eat. He's like, it's such a like.
I feel like that actor is having a lot of fun.
Yeah, totally.
it's weird he goes to the school. And we can talk more about this stupid.
Yeah, she says he's repeated 12th grade 3 times, so he's like 22. Like,
yeah,
but they're talking about Xander, right? Or
crazy. No. That's
No.
Jack O'Toole.
Okay.
yeah, because she's like, you know, like, you don't have cool, the one thing that this guy who's repeated the 12th grade 3 times has, and then it cuts to him, making it clear that he's repeated the 12th grade 3 times. It might be hyperbole, but if we take her literally,
Well,
he's like 22 years old.
I think it's real because I think this world revolves around high school. And so this whole, like his whole zombie gang, which we'll get to later, are also like a high school gang, you know?
Yeah.
So we can talk about it later. Yeah, and Cordelia is dressed. Yoder, you want to talk about her costuming?
Oh, she just like looked very put together, adult, like professionally dressed. But it was also creepy to me, like in the scene where like Xander is confronting Jack O'Toole, or you know that she's just like standing in the background there. It's like she has nothing better to do. She appears out of nowhere. She's just there to fuck with Xander, pretty much.
I thought she was talking to the other cheerleaders, but they're dressed in their cheerleader outfits, and she's not. And it really gives like a professor type vibe.
Yeah.
Like, all right. And then Cordelia calls him the Zeppo, which is a Marx Brothers reference. Does anyone want to talk about that? I don't know. Like, did anyone do Marx Brothers reference?
I mean, I read the Wikipedia page slightly.
Yeah, it didn't have to do a deep dive because I think people know about this reference now, or like this came up in college at least at one point. So like the Zeppo reference is sort of well known to me, but maybe it seems out of nowhere in the 90s. I guess you have to kind of be an old comedy writer or like an obsessive
Yeah,
television.
I think it was popularized by this episode. The idea of someone being a Zeppo originates with this episode, right? That was not a idea before this, right?
But it's kind of like being, what's the fifth Beatle, Sutcliffe, right? Like
Stu Sutcliffe. Well, he's one of the fifth Beatles. There's many fifth Beatles.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Peter Best is also a fifth Beatle.
Oh, Best. That's a good one. Yeah.
And then there's also like, arguably like, what's his name? The producer of the band was also like the fifth Beatle because he did so much.
But that's the meaning of the Zeppo, right? It's like the unnecessary character, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah, the one no one thinks about, the one everybody forgets. If you were going to list Marx Brothers, you would forget Zeppo.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up, sorry, won't take too long, but in school, like, I remember being on the bus with some friends, and I can't remember, I really think that they were talking about, like, the Three Stooges, I think, and we were, like, trying to list, you know, all the characters, but maybe they meant the Marx Brothers. But anyway, I kept adamantly saying that Harpo wasn't one of them, you know, anyway, I ended up having the nickname like Harpo stick with me like way late into high school and beyond because of that whole altercation, but not
Wait,
Zeppo.
so you got a nickname because you said Harpo wasn't a Marx brother?
No, I think they were trying to convince me that he was a Three Stooge or something. Yeah, no, it's Larry, Curly, and Moe.
I mean, Harpo is different than the rest of the Marx Brothers because he comes from like a whole different comedy tradition. Like he's like randomly a mime.
Yeah.
This is
complete.
This is a pre-Wikipedia problem. I'm sorry, David.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like a totally like this is all researchable, but we're bullies and not going to look into it.
I like the idea of being bullied over like 1940s comedy. Like that's
Yeah, these were my other nerd friends. It wasn't
it's
so.
obscure bullying.
If only it didn't happen, John. If only there wasn't obscure bullying.
Oh no, plenty of
such a
obscure
90s
bullying.
thing.
We should that might be a deep stuff for this episode actually.
Obscure bullying.
Yoder, you want to talk about about whether this is maybe a theme deep stuff thing, but about
I guess
whether
that's true.
Buffy and Buffy should trust Giles.
Yeah, and I especially like for Michael, for you, this being your first watch through after last episode, to see how much Buffy is working with Giles and seeming to trust him, and like he has the throwaway lines about how like, well, I'm no longer technically your watcher, and not working with the council and everything, but it just feels like, okay, we have to acknowledge it, but we're still going to treat the show pretty much the same as it was before last episode.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a TV show. I don't expect them to remember too much from episode to episode, so it doesn't bother me that much. And also, this episode feels like it's like so much further in the future, just with like the weird throwaway nature of the hellmouth opening. And like, I mean, I comment about this later, but they say like they are trying to open the hellmouth, and then they go to that like vampire bar, and like it's been destroyed. Like they came here and they want to do like we don't really get a handle on the plot of that one, right?
Yeah.
Do we know what's going on?
That's the like wacky structure of this episode, is like what would usually be the A plot of like the Hellmouth opening and stuff is like the background plot instead.
Right, and it's super fun and meta and self-referential. Like we'll talk more about it, I'm sure. But like that nature of that threw me off of the Buffy Giles relationship because it felt like we were just back in a generic Buffy background adventure going on. But like, yeah, she totally shouldn't trust him yet.
Yeah, maybe they build trust over this episode and we don't see it. Do you think it's weird that Xander is connecting being cool and being an important part of the team? Like,
No.
you don't? Okay.
I think it makes sense in as much as like I don't know that what Xander's really wants is being cool. I think what Xander really wants is to be accepted, right? Cool has broader like implications for his standing in the school in general. But what he really wants is to feel like he's a full member of his group of friends, right?
Yeah, but just the way he talks about in the Oz scene about being cool, like it's somehow related to being a useful part of the friend group.
I agree that he's conflating two things, but I understand why he's doing that, right? And I think that like not to make it too personal, but like when we were in high school and we were all buddies, except for Yoder, sorry. We were all buddies together.
I had friends.
Yeah, you had friends who are not on this podcast, I assume. But when we were all buddies, I mean, I think that was a constant paranoia that I had, that like I was constantly worried that I was one of the outsiders to the group, or that like I was not a full-fledged member, or that like when I wasn't around, it wouldn't like, like I just like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not I don't think it was a legitimate fear at the time, but I think that that's a thing that you worry about. It's like, what do these people think of me when I'm not around? Do they really like? Am I really like I feel like a member of the group when I'm there with everybody, but like, am I really? I feel like it's a very normal fear to have. And Xander, like, Xander feels that way. Because he's concerned about what he brings to the table. And I know that's definitely how I felt when I was 17.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys felt the same way.
Maybe. You saying that brings a lot back. I hadn't thought about that feeling in a long time.
I remember people saying shit like, because like, I mean, the way that we related to each other as 17-year-old boys was to give each other shit constantly.
Yes.
And like say horrible things to each other that I would never say to my worst enemy today. And I mean, I dished out as much as I took. I don't think like I'm not laying anything at anybody's feet here, right? But like, I think that I definitely there were things that hurt that people would say about me at the time that didn't mean anything, but like there were things that like really people would say about me that really hurt.
Sorry, I'm laughing. I'm just remembering some of the weird, mean things we said.
Well, right, but like I did the same thing to everybody else. It's not like it was a one-way street, right? It was just how we, as like broken young men, did. It's how that's the only way we knew how to have friends. Yeah, but we would be really nasty to each other, and I feel like. I get why Xander doesn't feel a member of the group all the time, because I think that paranoia about not being a full member of the group is pretty normal. Even if you're not 17-year-old boys, like even in normal adult relationships that I have now, where we're better about it, probably. Really? I think, yeah. I mean, I think I still have that fear.
I don't know. That's interesting. I totally know what you're talking about high school relations, and I basically had forgotten about it because maybe I just put it out of my mind. But I feel a general confidence with my friendships now. I don't feel like
I think it's gotten better. I used to really lose sleep over it, I think.
Oh yeah.
Right.
High school is so fucked up. But yeah. Like I think I totally agree with John saying, because you have so many relationships that you're trying to tend after in high school, not just you're like, these are my best friends, we hang out. It's like so many to lose sleep over and be concerned about how you appear to them and what they say about you and shit. And like you don't have much control over your identity either. Yeah, because of your parents or whatever you're doing. And
in fairness, and maybe this is more unique to us, but probably not, is that like it's not like we didn't have friends who we tolerated and then as soon as they were out of the room talk shit about. Yeah, like we did have friends like that. So it makes sense to be scared that you were secret, that you were one of those people.
Yeah.
We did have people like that. We had friends who we would be friends with as long as they were present, and then we're shitty about as soon as they left the room. Mm-hmm. I mean, we did do that.
Yeah.
Was it me?
It wasn't you, Dennis. I can say with 100% confidence that it wasn't you, because I was there when you weren't there, and it wasn't you.
Isn't the reality though that's everyone?
I think you know who it was.
Yeah, I know who it was.
I mean, it is, but isn't the reality that's everybody though? Like everybody gets their turn of like, oh man, you wouldn't believe X. You know, like.
No, I don't. I don't think it's everybody. I think that some people you're fake friends with and some people you're real friends with.
But I think that but you can be shitty to your real friends sometimes. You can be
shitty to your real friends sometimes, but there are people that you're shitty to all the time.
Okay. I don't have those kind of relationships anymore.
I don't either anymore. And I'm better about it now. But we definitely did that when we were kids.
I'd rather be shitty to my real friends than real to my shitty friends, but that's me.
Shamrock shakes for my real friends.
Yes.
Real rock shakes for my sham friends.
Oh, beat me to it. Yes. Shampoo for my real friends. Real poo for my sham friends.
There needs to be a button we press that produces that quote, so I'm going to make that happen now.
Yeah, and his name is Dusty.
So the jelly donut math works out. Buffy.
Oh yeah, so I did a second watch because I watched it on Hulu and then I watched it on my DVD with the captions on, mainly to like make sure I got quotes right and everything. But like when Xander went to buy the donuts, I was like, okay, how many jelly donuts did he say he got? You got 4, and I was like, that's a lot. And so Willow calls out Buffy for eating 3, but that's to throw off the aspersion that she had to have eaten 1, maybe the last one even. That means why Giles had none.
This is actually going to connect in a way I didn't expect. It makes sense that the Slayer eats more than everybody else, right? And it's like because she needs
like Superman
stuff, like Superman or the Flash. But it also connects to Faith's thing of associating fighting with food and sex, which Buffy denies, but is clearly actually there.
Or she's just replacing the sex with food since she's only doing
jelly donuts are the most sexual of donuts.
So
as long as it's not cream filled.
Yeah,
sorry.
So both Faith and Buffy eat a lot, which is weird. But I guess they need to keep up their super strength, is what you're saying. So yeah, okay. And the Flash does that sometimes, I guess. Sorry, I'm just repeating what you said. The weird superhero needs to eat more thing. I guess it's like a marathon runner.
And I don't think it's just it's not just like to power them, right? It's like there's an association of food and sex and fighting, like with Faith and Buffy.
Right. This is also a callback to something that Mr. Guizo, our 9th grade biology teacher, said.
What was that?
Oh, I only remember this because you pointed out to me, Dennis, that he was really a big fan of the Flash because the Flash was the only superhero who like obeyed like the law of conservation of energy, that he couldn't run fast unless he also consumed a large amount of food.
Oh yeah. I had forgotten about that. Apparently my high school memories are not as good as yours, John.
Everything goes straight to the permanent record. Nothing important though. Don't know where my keys are. Don't know where my wallet is, but I know something you told me in 11th grade.
Who wrote the Uncle Rory comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. I did. Yes. So yeah, I just really obvious statement that Uncle Rory, Xander's Uncle Rory, is insane to have lent him his mint condition classic car because, like, I mean, I know that he's in a bad situation where like he's in trouble with the law or whatever, and he can't like drive the car himself. But it's still a crazy idea to lend your perfect condition classic car to a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
It was a dumb idea.
So the C story would be Uncle Rory having the worst week ever as well, but it's a completely unrelated thing. Yeah.
Is this the same uncle that was a janitor at the computer company that made Moloch, the corruptor? Is anyone keeping track of Xander's extended family?
No one is keeping track of Xander's family.
I mean, I know they're all alcoholics and dysfunctional.
That feels easily Googleable. Yeah, we can double check on that one.
Yoder, you got the next one.
So I didn't note down a lot of them, but just watching it, it was very apparent like how great the scene transitions were, like connecting like lines of dialogue together, or like talking about how like, oh, Buffy will know what to do, and then Buffy's like, I have no idea what to do, you know, like it was a really good way to make sure that it didn't feel too disparate when there's like these two completely different types of stories going on in one episode. So I just really appreciated it.
Yeah, very, very tight episode, you know.
Dennis, you're correct. I Robot You Jane is the first mention of Uncle Rory.
Yay.
Oh, good. Wow.
Uncle
This
Rory.
is why you don't remember high school stuff, Dennis, is because you have all these Buffy memories in your head.
Yeah. Oh man, so one of the things I'm doing in the apartment is I'm throwing out a lot of stuff, but I'm saving all my Star Trek stuff and all my Buffy stuff, and I'm creating a Buffy and Star Trek shelf.
Do you have a lot of Buffy stuff?
I have like all the DVDs,
I guess all the art you're doing too.
a bunch of comics, and yeah, the art I'm doing, and just some other random stuff. But my Star Trek collection is actually larger, and I've actually thrown stuff out. But
The card.
Wow.
it was a Hallmark. Like, anyway, I don't know why I just said that.
Is that a
That's
Christmas
pretty good.
ornament?
What?
Is that a Christmas ornament?
Yes.
That's massive.
Yes. I also had a Hallmark Voyager, a Star Trek the Voyager ship.
I remember the ads for those Hallmark ornaments.
Yeah, they were gifts from my Aunt Mary Margaret. She would get me.
Oh, I remember Mary Margaret. I've met her.
Yeah.
Nice lady.
Yeah. Yep, she's nice. Okay. I say Xander's date reacts really bizarrely to everything, right up to Bob showing up. Then she reacts more appropriately than anyone else ever does. Just like, you know, she's
Accurate.
like, they get the knife, and she's like, I'm bored. And it's like, you're having a knife fight and you're bored. She's like, not weirded out by like Jack's weird behavior or anything.
I think that she just lives inside of like a West Side Story universe where like everything is classic cars and knife fights.
Yeah, totally.
And that's just normal for her.
The scene of the bronze is so funny because she's like talking up all the other guys that have cars and the make and model. She's like, oh yeah, he's got like an 82 or whatever. And like Xander is supposed to know about this car shit that he's pretending. And then he's like, Angel, come here, you want to talk, buddy? Hey. It's just so
That
funny.
is really funny that, he suddenly wants, like, this is the one time in the entire series he's going to want to talk to Angel.
But I mean, the way they set up the episode, it's like Xander is visited or runs into everybody up to this other major hellmouth situation and like is rejected by everybody. It is pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
You were going to say something, Dennis, that I totally interrupted your like thing about car stuff.
Oh, there's something about like Mustang Mike or not Mike with but Mike with the Mustang. And like wasn't there a really similar line of dialogue in School's Hard with the delinquent girl dating like a Mike with a Mustang or something? Is there a connection there? I just thought of it.
Time to look up the School Hard script.
There's the point, point where Cordelia is like, college boys have, what is it? Cars. She's talking about dating guys with cars. Remember that?
Oh yeah. And now she's not impressed with cars. What a hypocrite. Let's see. Mike, what's the thing about covering for someone?
Oh, it's just this stupid trope of films that is happening here where Xander is being bullied by O'Toole and with the knife, and then the cops show up, and then Xander's like, "It's cool. We were just, wrestling around, hanging out, And it's the same thing that happened in the pack, where like Flutie had showed up, and like they're bullying.
R.I.P. Flute.
Yeah, R.I.P. Flutie. They're like bullying a kid, the gang that becomes the pack or whatever, and then the kid like doesn't give him up. When Flutie's like, "Okay, everything's fine," and then it's like, "You're an instant member of a gang."
Well, maybe it's because like it's maybe a really minor transgression, but then I don't know, to tie back to our terrible real news, like if you're covering up for that kind of shitty behavior, you'll cover up for other shitty behavior of other dudes, so that's what it shows.
Shit.
True.
Yeah.
But then the gang also has an initiation ritual. So it's
which is also confusing because like if we'll get to it, I guess, but like their initiation ritual is like you die to become part of the gang, but they all are just recently resurrected. So were they not a gang before this night, or like have they all been resurrected before?
I think it's the initiation for like the gang version 2.0. Now that they all have been resurrected, maybe like just an unsaid thing. Yeah.
All right. So let's start talking about the zombies. Because I think this is the show's first zombies, also, right? I can't think of them.
How do you feel about the episode where Pat dies?
Oh yeah, you're right. That's zombies. Bah!
Yeah.
Good call.
Well, I guess we'll cover it in predictions, but didn't Michael have a thing about like other types of mythical creatures that might show up and stuff? Was zombies on there?
No, I think we're talking about fairy tale. But
okay.
Yeah, there's something about fairy tales, but zombie is not a fairy tale.
Yeah, I just noted though that like it was odd to me that Zombie Big Bob was buried in his letter jacket. Like it's a great visual for the character and how he looks, but like if you think about like having a funeral service and like, I mean, I guess for a teenager,
if someone dies in high school, I feel like they might do that.
I think the Frankenstein kid was probably buried in his Letterman jacket.
Yeah,
right?
I had to check to make sure this wasn't the same guy.
Yeah,
it seems like the same guy from the Frankenstein episode.
Do you know who it is?
No.
It's the actor who plays Abraham Ford in The Walking Dead.
Whoa! Oh, whoa!
Which is crazy. He's a zombie in this.
I thought he looked familiar. He's got your mustache, Dennis.
Yeah, my old mustache.
Yeah, your previous mustache. Now you're more of a goatee situation.
This is a full beard. It's just white. You can't see it.
Oh, word. Okay.
Anyway, sorry. I just thought that was weird that he's a zombie in this, and he fights the zombies in Walking Dead.
More zombie talk. That there's really nice makeup, like for the demons and also the zombies and creatures we see later. But and I put on here that maybe stealing a point from Dennis, but I saw on Wikipedia that like this episode was nominated for outstanding makeup in a series for an Emmy. I don't think it won, but it was nominated. So.
No, I looked it up because of this note, and X-Files won that year. It looks. I went and scanned the Primetime Emmy Awards for makeup for the 90s, and it's like this is like the one thing I would have paid attention to, because the one part of the Emmys I would have cared about, because like for the 90s it was all like Star Trek winning, Quantum Leap, Alien Nation, Babylon 5, Star Trek again, X-Files, like really good run of, and one Buffy, and then in the 2000s it starts to become like Gilmore Girls and NCIS and Deadwood. So like I don't know, that's like the one Emmy category that sounds interesting to me.
Gilmore Girls won for special effects or
For makeup.
Well, did you see their zombie episode? It's pretty good.
It was for the episode in 2004. They won for the Festival of Living Arts or of Living Art. So there, I don't know. Deadwood won. Tracy Ullman's won a bunch of times. Pushing Daisies, Grey's Anatomy, blah blah blah. But it was X-Files and Star Trek for most of the 90s. All right. I say Giles argues with a cloud and doesn't notice Xander's new zombie friends. I just like that Giles is so focused that he doesn't notice there's like zombies wandering around in the background. I mean, I know he's not a watcher anymore. That's something you should observe.
I mean, maybe we'll get into this later, but I love that this show has reached the point of self-parody, that they're able to say that what's essentially happening here is there's a whole season of Buffy going on.
Yeah.
In the sort of like just off camera, right? And that we're given to understand that this episode is what happens while all the high drama is happening. There's this low story that's happening.
Yeah.
That's nice. I think that's neat. That's what's great about this episode, obviously.
Totally. Yoder, you have a comment about the car? You want to show it?
Yeah, so I guess for the YouTube viewers, whatever, this is a toy car that I had as a kid, and my mom is in town, and she brought it over. I mentioned it to Dennis, and he was like, I should bring it on just so we can see. But one of my favorite things about it is that there's a little cord in the back that you pull, and then it runs on the ground, so that's pretty cool.
Same color and everything.
Yeah, I think it might have been a gift from my uncle, like that. I can't
Your
remember.
Uncle Rory?
Yeah, was it Rory?
No, not Rory. But I don't know if he ever had a car like that, but I think it's one of those cars that he was interested in.
Were you into toy cars?
I mean, I had some Hot Wheels and stuff. One of my favorite toy cars is actually a Happy Meal toy car from the Batman Returns Batmobile. Because you would press a little button and it would shoot out, and it would go pretty far too.
I remember those.
And I was playing with that with my nephew like about a year ago or so. Like it's still freaking works great, the spring-loaded thing and everything. And
there was maybe it wasn't. Was it the same promotion? There was there was a Two-Face car that would go and then it would flip over and it would be the other side of Two-Face and it would go the other way.
I remember one that had a giant head of Two-Face in the front or something that would pop out.
Damn.
Or maybe it was the Joker. But yeah, lots of toy car talk here.
You know,
if it was,
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just say if it was connected to the movies, it'd be for Batman Forever.
Yeah, the Batmobile is definitely Batman Returns that I had.
The one I'm thinking of, I think, was Batman Animated Series. I don't.
You know,
maybe I'm just saying that to save it from being shitty.
If you did
suckitude.
If you did just a tangentially related toy kind of story, and you took the tangentially related toys, like the Hot Wheels things or the things that don't really fit in the the universe of the show, and then did a little story with those kind of characters, you play out a Batman story, but with just the cars or whatever the stupid, not really related. There's so many that they make, right? And they'll turn one scene oh, remember when Batman fired a grappling hook? Well, this is grappling Batman. Hey, remember when Batman fought Iceman? Well, this is Ice Batman, Iceman Batman. They'll just put all those variants.
Yeah, no, I was just my dad's I don't know what these people are to me. My step nephew, my dad's girlfriend's grandkids, whatever those people are to me. I was visiting with those kids, and the kid had a Ghostbusters themed slot car set, and it was just a mishmash of shit from all different versions of Ghostbusters, and that really bothered me. I'm like, they've got the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, but they've also got the walking Statue of Liberty. That's two different films, and then there's Slimer's in it, and that's a whole other thing. And I was being a real creep about it. And
yes. So
no one was bothered but me.
Licensing snafu toy stories. Right?
Yeah.
You're just what? This doesn't fit. That's awesome. There's so much of it. Star Wars is full of it. Batman's bad. Lego is getting weird. Yeah.
Gotta keep producing more stuff. I say the zombie gang apparently killed the jackals. Do you think that was maybe Xander's old pack? They could have reformed as a gang after.
I had the same thought.
Wow.
That's
they
an
hyenas?
awfully big coincidence.
Yeah, jackals, hyenas. We don't know what happens to them, and apparently there's like gang wars in the school that Buffy isn't aware of. Like, I know she's fighting monsters and stuff, but she occasionally stops just random bullying.
I mean, people have accused Buffy of being a gang member before. It seems odd they would do that if there were no gang. So we know that there is some kind of gang situation at Sunnydale High School.
Yeah.
I love that Xander can't not be involved in the supernatural. Like, if he just steps out of the Buffy gang for a second, there's still some other supernatural shit going on.
Yeah.
Literally all he tried to do was like, hey, I've got a car. This is my new thing. I have a car. Like, this is innocent enough. And it's like, no.
Maybe you can be our getaway driver.
At one point in my notes, I wrote down dead baby driver. But
Oh, fuck that movie.
The magic shop has a new owner. It's now called Uncle Bob's Magic Cabinet. Willow knows where he sleeps, which made me wonder if he slept at the store, which could protect him from vampires.
It'd be smart. I don't know if anybody in the Buffy universe is that smart. No one uses the vampire can't come into your house thing to their advantage nearly as much as they could.
Yeah. I wonder if it's called Uncle Bob. Like, there's a lot of uncles in this episode. I wonder if Uncle Bob is related to, what I'm calling the family of magic shop owners who keep dying. Like, he's the uncle of the last owner who, in my head, was like the daughter of the first owner.
I would love to see if the series keeps going, like if the magic shop owners keep dying or getting killed off, like they just like put the sign to replace the name part of it, like it stays like Uncle Blake, like, and it keeps just like building up, like Uncle Steve's
Slayers.
and Uncle Mary's and then Uncle, whatever. Sorry.
But I also think this is the first time we've seen a magic shop owner not die. They did not die in this scene.
Good point.
That we know of.
It could have happened right off camera.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of shit that happened off camera in this episode.
Yeah, that's true. It's a Jack, while he's trying to convince Xander to get stabbed to death, is like, take it like a man, which is some real Buffy-verse version of toxic masculinity to like the biggest extreme ever of like, you're not a real man if you don't get stabbed to death. I got a bunch of listings in around here. I'd say Xander is able to run away from the zombie gang using spatial relations because he's slow at spatial relations.
That's a good point. I didn't notice that.
If you were Xander's parents, you'd notice.
We're so proud of him. He was able to understand the shape of the coffee shop. And I really love the Buffy Angel scene that Xander interrupts. I mean, just the show is so aware of like what the Buffy Angel scenes are. Right? Yeah. And the best one is just like that when Xander walks away, they go right back to it. They go back to these shots and they're like the deep, like, oh, feelings. Like,
I can't watch you die again.
It's good stuff.
It's wonderful and confusing because it like takes you a second to realize that was what they're doing. Because I didn't know not to pay attention to the story for a while until this scene. And this scene is when I was like, oh, the hellmouth thing is bullshit.
Oh, that's amazing. This is what we have a virgin on.
But that was the giveaway for it, because like when Angel and Buffy are really intense, and I'm like, oh fuck, maybe did I miss a scene? Like, is it I don't understand. And then when Xander's like, oh, never mind, and they get right back to him, like, oh, this is silly. I get it. This is the meta show. But like, it kept, like when Giles is like casting a spell and like this thing is going back, I'm like, well, maybe these stories are going to collide. Obviously, they're going to collide in some way, and they do. But like, that was the giveaway. Anyway. They're just they're a little too hammy. They're a little hammy.
Yeah,
They
it's
get
just
right back to it.
it's a little more over the top than the show usually is.
Yeah.
Right.
But only
Like,
a little.
Not so much that it breaks the world. It's like
It's just on the nose. They're saying exactly like
Yeah.
what the content of the scene should be in a
They're-
like just too articulate for Angel, especially as we know struggles to articulate his feelings and what is going on in the scene, and so for him to be very clear, yeah.
yeah. And this is also like, I mean, just think of like this is a season finale episode for everybody else, but it's a mid-season episode. You know,
Right.
I say the great zombie death with the mailbox. Where Xander goes and grabs the guy and he's like holding him while the car's driving and like you better get this question right. And then the head pops off. There's like actually two similar scenes in Romeo and Juliet. Guys want to take a break?
No, just
no,
Romeo
after-
and Juliet.
Oh, we'll maybe do a bio break between this and questions, what John is saying.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry. You don't like? Sorry, dude. Romeo and Juliet is in the recommendations.
Yeah, I cannot recommend that film.
Early James Gunn, right? Don't you love
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy? It's the same brilliant genius behind it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, I did not enjoy that film. That movie.
Too bad.
That movie
because it's recommended.
upsets me.
Which penis monster upsets you in that?
It's not
film?
even the penis monsters. It's all the head injury stuff. God, that like really, like
That's
I watched some pretty rough movies in my life, and that movie is one of the few that I'm like, I don't want to watch that again.
Is it too much of a hot take to say if trauma films never happened, the world would be just fine?
I think we'd be better for some of them anyway.
No toxic Avenger? That's crazy. What are you talking
No,
about?
like the classic one's fine, but when they started putting trauma in the title, that's when things really started getting dumb.
But they need to make it super clear to the audience. Hey, this is a trauma film. So just
I like them. I mean, they're not like my favorites or anything, but I don't know. I think there needs to be something out there just being gross and stuff. Did
I
you
like
see,
gross.
Scott
I don't know.
Shermer's first movie was Space Babes from Outer Space, and it was like
I haven't seen it yet.
it was their most trauma film they've ever made.
It looks super trauma, which is why I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's got the aliens are ball sacks. And
Yeah, I've seen stills from it.
Did you
Arthur,
back
I
that
haven't-
one?
I haven't
did
sought
back
out
it,
watching it.
I think is that the one that was also maybe made partially in Bloomington, if not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you in the background of a scene?
No, I only learned that stuff like I think when you shared like about like how you had backed it or whatever. I went to the page and checked it out and like
Oh
the
yeah,
interview with him where like he talked about like how he was hanging out at Night Moves down in Bloomington,
Yeah.
Indiana, and like came up with the idea for.
so wait, Yoder, have you sought out
movie.
those guys or gotten to know any of those guys?
No.
Sorry, we can edit this out of the podcast. This is super inside baseball.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it was filmed in Night Moves. There's a lot of scenes that
Yeah.
take place inside that strip club.
Which I would not be able to recognize anyway, but yeah.
Yeah. Night Moves is the strip club that was only down the block from our high school.
Yeah, it's still down the block from high school. I do appreciate. I have to drive past it a lot when I go to my parents to have dinner or whatever, and I do like I eye the sign because I always change it to like be something witty. And I did hear from someone that maybe like even the dancers are the ones that like come up with the slogan for the sign. But I think like the most recent one, for example, that when I went by was tell your wife you're at the gym or something. Yeah.
Have you been to Night Moves? Has anyone been? Or is it just kind of a legendary
been.
strip club?
I mean, it's not legendary. It's just a thing that exists.
Oh, okay. Well, it's legendary to me now.
So anyway, back to the show. Great zombie death with the mailbox. I said that. Sorry. So now we get when they in the school, and sorry, my brain. The Coke snack machine comes into play again.
That was my point.
And he uses the school axe again, which for some reason there's a school axe. It happened a couple episodes ago. Like just whenever there's glass, people always punch through the glass instead of opening the door. Like, you can open those doors, right? You get to like a fire hose or a fire axe. Like,
Well, most of those, don't they have like a little hammer or something too, like of in case of emergency? Like, so you don't have to like just use your hand to do it?
there's,
I don't know.
yeah. And I say, Xander now has something in common with Negan after he crushes Bob's head.
I stopped watching The Walking Dead. Are you still watching it, Dennis?
No. I never really watched it full time. I always got bored halfway through a season. And
The
then
comics are better.
I would just get angry at it. Kind of the same symptoms of, not really in the same way at all, but like Lost, like that. Just the thing of like a network show where it's like sometimes it can be really good and it delivers on what you want, but then sometimes it's like it tries to be another show, or it just like it screws with the audience too much, and it's just like, no, I don't want that. Yeah.
Some critic defined it as actively hostile to the audience. I agree with that.
For The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
So Mike, you ask,
Yeah. Any idea what the motivations of the zombie gang are? Anyone?
they
They just want to create trouble.
yeah. They killed
cruise
the
around.
jackals, so they got nothing else going. Obviously, they don't even know what they're going to do, but
Yeah.
they're experienced cake bakers.
Like, their story is so stupid. They're resurrecting each other based on some star signs. Then they're getting together. They want to go get beer, which they don't get. They go to get supplies to build a bomb, I guess, and then somehow rig a bomb in the school that looks like a pretty sophisticated bomb. But their motivations for destroying the school are chaos, right? Just they're chaos
Yeah.
zombies.
They want
That's
to blow
it.
up the school.
Or if it's Jack being angry that he's been held back for 3 years in a row or whatever.
For some reason, he just can't get out of here.
I'm with Dennis. I think his being held back makes sense in the context of like he's waiting for the right time to resurrect his high school buddy so he can continue this high school story. Like he's being held back on purpose. Because he's not done with that stage of his life.
How horrific that your
It is
whole
horrific.
life is orbiting, even after you've died, around your high school experience, and then you're obsessed with like ending the high school. Well, that's probably the only way to end their story is for them to blow up the high school and escape into the adult world. We're still.
I mean, why don't they just make a podcast with their high school buddies like normal people?
I was going to suggest the same thing.
I don't know what you're talking about. I forgot to mention this earlier. I like that the zombies are all at like they're like at 3 different levels of decomp.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Can I aside for a second because I hung out with Travis yesterday? Do you guys know the game Life is Strange? Anybody played it? Highly recommended PC game. A lot of fun. Really well written. Takes place in high school, and the main character is a photographer. And I was talking to Travis about it. He's like, that sounds great because those are my 2 favorite things, high school and photography.
I think there's also,
he's
like,
only
time
into
travel.
things that don't exist anymore.
I found all of like my like high school photos also this week, and from when I was in photo class, and there were a bunch of photos of you guys.
Really?
But
I remember you taking a lot of photos.
Me neither.
I did.
Ooh,
I mean,
boudoir photos.
I definitely went through. I
Probably.
definitely went through a photographer stage.
Yeah.
I have.
That was when you were at Bloomington, though. That was when you already moved away.
Yeah, but I would come back and take pictures of you guys. Maybe you didn't know.
Sweet.
Anyway,
Yeah, please share them in the Slack channel. That'd be cool.
Okay, yeah. Like one of the things like going through this weekend is like any idea I had of like being like a skilled artist in high school or something were totally destroyed by like actually finding my high school art. And that includes my photos and stuff. Like,
Well,
I don't know, Dennis.
if
You were good.
anybody's
You were
actually-
always a skilled artist.
it was,
Not that you haven't gotten better, because you have, but you were always impressive.
there was definitely some stuff I thought was good and thought was worth saving that are now in the recycling.
I was just gonna say, if anyone actually is a school or a skilled artist when they're in high school, like they don't have enough life experience to do anything worthwhile anyway. So like, what's the point?
Oh man, I also found sorry, this is not super podcast related. I also found just a shit ton of scripts I had written and stuff during my like big script writing phase, and they were really me writing about stuff I didn't know about, like getting fired from my job and like, oh, my car's broke and my girlfriend's a bitch.
We should produce some of them.
They are in the recycling, dude.
No,
Get
but,
rid of
but
them.
like,
Boo.
but wouldn't
Keep
that be
everything.
great? Out of
Scan
touch,
it all.
And
out
also,
of touch scripts.
my-
That sounds amazing.
my completely obnoxious like character names, like that was, I couldn't even read the scripts for some of them for the character names. I'm like Orson and Kilgore and like,
Yeah.
oh god, what the hell?
That was definitely a hallmark of your writing. That I remember. I thought that was a reflection because you were also born with a slightly comical name.
Yeah,
So I felt like that was autobiographical.
yeah. I was always trying to. There was some like I had one where a guy was like Craig, and then another guy's name was Krug or something like that. I was like, oh god. Anyway, back to the podcast. Yoder, you got kind of a summary of the episode, I guess.
Well, and this is a big reason why I like asked to be on this one particularly too. It's a lot of fun. But my note is female demons eating a zombie. Werewolf Oz eats a zombie. What other show would you get this stuff? You know?
Yeah.
This is also Oz's first kill in the entire show, I think. Yeah.
Wait,
a lot of-
no. Last episode is when he's oddly full.
No,
that's
this
this
episode.
one.
Oh, it's
This is
this
the
episode. Oh shit.
one
Okay.
we're talking about, dude.
That's right. Sorry. I need to watch more carefully so I get it all
didn't-
straight.
Oh, so
I
he
didn't-
ate him too. I didn't catch that.
He's
yeah,
oddly full.
he's
I
gonna be
didn't-
pooping up zombie.
Dude, I bet that's a stinky shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch the first time when I watched it though. That like the whole thing with like Willow like tranquilizing Oz, and like she has a line about it later, but that they like dragged him down to the basement to be more safe because of the hellmouth opening up in the library, I guess.
Yeah, that would have been an extra level of chaos. I also think it's funny. Werewolf Oz is apparently the only creature that's not strong enough to bust through that library cage. Let's see. I say that was a long 40 seconds. That final countdown.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if anybody actually like. Somebody should have actually clocked that to see how.
Yeah,
long.
there was like at one point, especially towards the end, when it was like 7 seconds, then it was like 1, 2, 3, 4. It was like a good like 10 seconds, and then come back and it was like 4 seconds.
Yeah. Let's see. I say the line Willow says about "no one will ever know." And I'm like, I mean, the contractors that they have to hire to repair all the damage to the library and the school, they might know something. There was just a lot of damage to the building done this episode that, not to step on Mike's predictions, but I bet there's no consequences for next week. I bet the library.
what consequences could there possibly be? Oh,
Just-
we got to move to Magnet School. Everyone going to a different location because the school is destroyed.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, walls got busted by the demon head and stuff. I guess I didn't really talk about the monster very much this episode.
it was a cool monster, though.
Yeah, really cool monster. And
Did
like,
they just reuse the monster though from season 1?
no, it is bigger. They say it's bigger, and it is
okay.
it is a larger monster with a weirder head. But it is funny. Like, they obviously spent a lot of money on this new set, on this new monster that we see like 30 seconds of, if 30 seconds even.
It's cool because like I like the lack of buildup and it's this background thing. It is really fun as an episode because of the overall chaos, and you know Xander ends up keeping that story to himself, and they completely like ignore it as well. Like it's kind of rad.
All right, that is the end of our Weird Noticings trivia. We're gonna go on to questions for the group. First question comes from Mike, the Virgin Pulley.
Okay, we didn't actually. We're noticing this one about when the guy gets out of the grave, and the first thing he says, like, "Hey, did you get tape my Walker Texas Ranger? What you've woken from the dead? What's the first thing you do? What's the first thing you want? Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's the question. Yeah. What's the first dumb thing that you do? There you go.
Like, not like get revenge or whatever, but like what's like.
Yeah, let's say you've been dead for 8 months. You've woken from the dead. What's the first dumb thing you do?
8 months.
Yeah.
God,
So,
check
like-
the news for this year. Jesus, like, if I could jump 8 months ahead and know what the news says, shit.
Oh man, I wouldn't even want to wake up. Things are gonna be so much worse in 8 months.
Yeah, in 8 months, if I'm checking the news first thing, like I'm going to be in bed for another 8 months. I feel like you
I
go
don't
to
know.
Taco Bell, you cruise for chicks.
Like, is there a show I'm following, like Texas Ranger or something?
I don't know. That just like spoke to me as the dumbest thing to be worried about. But at the same time, like I got a little bit. I mean, it's funny, but it's also like, yeah, that's true. We're all like, it's the little things in life that like you're kind of get fixated on.
Yeah. Let me tell you, one of the things I said into my head one time that really let me know, like, oh, I'm in the middle of like some deep depression, is like when the new Twin Peaks season was announced and it was like 2 years in the future that would come out. I was like, in my head, I was like, Twin Peaks in 2017. All right, I guess I got to live that long.
Oof.
So maybe it would be like something like that, where it'd be like, has there been a new season of Twin Peaks? Or like, has Star Trek Discovery gotten good?
Yeah. I was going to say, I would check on Star Trek Discovery because that's something I care about, and I also have no idea where it's going because, boy, is that a hot mess.
Yeah.
Well, Dennis, to riff on that dark place, I remember in high school, my mom was a social worker, and she had a client who was attempting suicide or talked about doing suicide by cop. And my first response was, why would they want to kill themselves? Home Alone 2 doesn't come out till next year.
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, there's a certain thing about surviving just for something.
God.
Like, I might.
If you
honestly
were waiting
just be
for
like,
Home Alone 2, that was your like lifeline, and then you saw Home Alone 2, you'd be done. That would be the end of it for you.
I'm glad you did not have a direct line to that person, Michael, because that might have pushed them over the edge, maybe. I don't know.
To be clear about this story, no one was actually betting their life on the quality of Home Alone 2.
No, I was just obviously.
like, you as a kid couldn't comprehend the idea of suicide.
Right.
Because Home
I
Alone
had seen trailers for Home Alone 2, and I loved Home Alone 1 so much. I can't imagine why you would kill yourself.
That's amazing.
Clearly, no understand. I mean, whatever. Your kid brain is stupid.
That's an amazing kid view of the world.
Oh,
I think-
this thing I want to do and things I want haven't happened yet.
Yeah.
I think the dumb, trivial thing I would want is to, if it had aired, I would want to watch the series ending for Game of Thrones, just because, like who knows if those books will ever get made and stuff. Like, so, like, maybe the only version of that story ending that you ever get to see.
Yeah. Did you watch the last season of Parks and Rec?
Ugh.
John,
What?
everything I'm saying today is causing you to groan.
What? I'm sorry. The last season of Parks and Rec didn't make you groan?
I just, like, there was a joke there I wanted to bring up is all. Because the last season jumps into the future, and so there's a line about, we got to hurry up and watch the series finale for Game of Thrones. Khaleesi's going to marry Jack Sparrow. Wow, that show really went off the rails.
Sorry, I forgot what the actual content of your joke was because I just hate the last 2 seasons of Parks and Rec so hard.
Is it because Chris Pratt got handsome?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, in general, that show jumped the shark, but
Didn't they just lean into the character like jokes, like the character stereotypes that they created, like the too
everything that made that show charming stops happening in the last 2 seasons.
I didn't watch the last 2. I'm just guessing.
I like them okay. I still think they're funny. It's definitely a show I can watch and not, like, be bothered by.
Yeah, I agree, except for the first season and the last 2 seasons.
The first season's really rough. Anyway, I don't want to do a Parks and Rec recap. I just wanted to say one joke. John, you have the next question.
Sorry. Was anybody evaluated for special ed when they were a kid? Because Xander has this thing where he's like, no, I'm not retarded. I was tested, but was anybody? I was evaluated. And now that I have taken classes on special ed, I have looked back and realized what was going on. Was anybody else evaluated as a child?
I don't know if I was evaluated, but I had to be in first and second grade. I was taken out of regular reading to go to, like, the special ed reading. And it was really frustrating me because I could read, but I couldn't I couldn't read out loud because I had a lot of stage fright at that time, which I don't have anymore. I'm obnoxious on stage. But, I used to, like, when I would try to read out loud for the class, I would start crying, and so that they put me in.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense because to this day, a big part of how you assess a reader at that age is their ability to read out loud with what they call fluency, which is like reading without stuttering, reading without like going back and repeating anything. So it makes sense that just nervousness would totally mark you as a shitty reader.
Yeah.
I don't know the total thing, and I'm still trying to get the full story out of my parents. I've been bugging them about it, and they are like, I don't remember. And I'm like, bullshit, you're teachers, you know. I think they don't want to tell me the full story, but when I was in like third grade, I was definitely evaluated and tested for all kinds of stuff. I think they thought all kinds of things about me. I think I was more weird than anything. Just a weird kid more than anything.
Do you remember any
know.
of the tests that were conducted, John?
Yeah, I do. There was the school psychologist who took me out and gave me a test where they gave me like 3 parts to a story out of order, and I had to put them in order and say what the story was. And the story was about like a group of people who their planet was dying and they had to board a spaceship and fly to another planet. This is a uniquely well-suited story to my brain. And I was like, I know exactly what the story is here. And I can tell you exactly how the story goes. And the story is awesome. And I remember, I think I did very well in the story, which is why I was not placed in any particular special ed. But as an adult, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, and pretty sure that that's a pretty accurate diagnosis, and probably was definitely also true of me as a kid, but I was never officially diagnosed as a child. But I'm pretty sure that's why I was put into the why I was being evaluated at the time.
Yeah, it is tough when you're just a weird kid.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a fine line between being a weird kid and being a diagnosable thing that should be treated.
Yeah.
And as a teacher, I see that too. And I see parents who are resistant to having their kids diagnosed. And I see parents who are really excited to have their kids diagnosed. And it's a complicated thing. And having your kid, saddling your kid with a label is complicated because it's, you do give the kid a stigma with that, but you also have the opportunity for the child to get extra help. So there's pluses and minuses to it. And I feel like I really relate to any parent who either wants their kid really hard to have a diagnosis or a parent who really doesn't want their kid to have a diagnosis. And there are parents who fight really hard for both. And I have no judgment for anybody because it's really hard.
I see that happening now with a friend whose kids, one of his kids is like a little off, and they're trying to diagnose what that is, and like it just looks excruciating for the kid.
It's excruciating for the kid, and it's excruciating for the parents. And as a teacher, you have kids who are obviously need more help than they're getting, and their parents are really resistant to a diagnosis or really resistant to extra help. And then you see vice versa. You see parents, like you see kids who like are fine, but their parents are really adamant that their child gets certain extra things. And and it's complicated. And parents, as it should be, their parents have a lot of rights and they have a lot of sway, which is how it should be. But it's frustrating as a teacher because parents have a really limited view of children because they only see their own child. And as a teacher, you see like a broad selection of children. And so you you can sort of say with a little bit more authority as a teacher, like your child's different than normal. Whereas the parent only sees one child. So it's difficult. And I don't know. I really related to Xander in this sort of moment where he's like, no, I'm not retarded, but also there is definitely something going on with me. I definitely related to that moment.
All right. Thanks, John. That was, I don't know. That was a lot of info. Mike, you got the next question.
Yeah, so this is it's kind of 2 questions combined here. I'm going to try and do this not super awkwardly, but Xander's thing is cars. Oz's thing is maybe saying short, piffy things. Willow's thing is being the witch. Kind of what's your thing is kind of my question. But I feel like it's always you make a mistake with your thing because I've definitely demonstrated what I thought was my thing, and I didn't like what happened next. So I kind of have two stories for this really quick, and maybe you guys can relate. So I briefly ran a film, like a video producer networking meetup in Portland a couple years ago. I ran it for a year or so. I really liked doing it, but people were asking for like, oh, we really like people to demonstrate this about like different types of equipment. And nobody wanted to set up to do audio demonstrations. So I was like, cool, I'll do an audio demonstration. Well, once you do an audio demonstration, everybody assumes you do audio. And so then I got invited to do audio, asked to do audio on a bunch of projects, and I did a couple of them, and it took a lot of weekends, and I didn't like that I had done that. And I was like, what an idiot. I should have never set up, because that's these strangers walking in are like, oh, this guy's the mic guy. Let me get him. And I'm like, this isn't my thing. But I made it my thing. You idiots. The other one would be pinball, which is like, I went through a pinball phase where Elizabeth and I enjoyed playing pinball together a bunch. And now everyone still thinks I'm obsessed with pinball, and I'm over it and been over it for years. Sold my pinball machine. I moved on.
Oh, that's good to know. Do you still have the Johnny Mnemonic machine?
No, I sold it.
Well done.
For twice what I paid for it. So I'm very happy with that. I mean, it worked out.
Oh, so when I was like, let's go play pinball, Mike, you were like, you weren't as into it as I thought.
When was that? Last year?
Last time I was in Portland. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I like pinball, dude. It's fun. But I don't like, I'm not going to competitions anymore, and I'm not like at that level of seriousness. It's
also, yeah, I do feel like it's okay to have casual interests. It's hard, like I feel like everybody feels the need to specialize and shit, but like it's okay to just have a casual interest in something. Like my interest in pinball is casual. It's like I don't think I've played a machine since I hung out with you last time, but I really enjoy pinball when I play it, but I'm not like gonna buy a machine. Yeah.
For some reason, this just made me think of my sister. She like got like, you know, like a toy cow once or whatever, and then like it became a thing where she kept getting like all these cows, and it's like I think she kind of admitted to me at some point that it's like I don't want these anymore. It's like you keep getting that thing because people are like, oh yeah, you like this, right? You have these, and so it's like here's another stuffed cow or whatever.
Yeah, I think my interests are pretty blatant and are at this point in my life honest. Like there probably was times where I was faking interest or something, but like.
But you know where you like fake an interest and then you end up having to like follow through on it. Like for the audio thing for me, where it's like, I mean, it's not something I don't know how to do. It's just like, I don't like doing that so much. Like, I mean, like doing production audio on a shoot, right? Where you're, like, pulling boom mics and making sure everyone's wired up and shit. Like, I find that to be so tedious. And hard.
Oh, no, I mean, it's a fine line, I feel like, between this is a thing I like and this is the thing everybody thinks I like.
Yeah, but I think it's also a thing of like, it's easier to shop for somebody who has a thing, right? Like, it's easier if you have a friend who's obsessed with the Muppets to just like get them something Muppet related every year or something, right?
I'm never sure to what extent my interests are my own versus like it's this like horrible self-portrait that you've created. I mean, things that I think I feel are very personal to me, but also it's part of the like bullshit self-portrait. Like, I decided that being a They Might Be Giants fan was like a huge part of my identity for a really long time, and worked really hard to like keep that going. I haven't listened to any of their last like 3 records. Don't even have any idea, and I'm like kind of fine with that now. Took me a long time to get there.
Yeah,
where it's like I don't need to support that part of my own identity anymore. Yeah. You know, like you know, whatever it is, whatever the thing is, right? How much of anything is just identity construction, and how much of identity construction is bullshit?
But if you had that experience there where you step out and to do something like what I'm talking about, like the audio thing, where you step out, do something different, you're like, oh, this is my thing for a second.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to pretend to an audience this is my thing. And then you're treated by professionals as if that's your thing. And you're like,
yes,
I guess I have to do this now.
Well, as a teacher,
and, like your whole body clenches up. You're like, fuck. Yeah, I'll be there next week. No problem.
Yeah. As a teacher, I wound up teaching media literacy to young kids, which is a highly specialized, rarefied thing that I never meant to do. It was only accident that I ended up doing it. And then I'm being asked to like write papers and book chapters because not very many people do that, and like I didn't mean to do it in the first place. Like, I don't want to do this. That happens, and it's scary.
Yeah, I don't feel like I have that with, like, I never accidentally said I was an expert in audio or anything. Like, I just feel like
you're like an expert in monsters, Dennis. And
Yeah,
like,
but,
how much
like-
of that feels organic versus like an accidental thing you did?
it is an accidental thing I did, but it's because it's a genuine interest.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it's the same. Like, I don't know. Like, I really think my interests are sincere at this point. Like, I like monsters. I like dinosaurs. I like comics. I like Betty Boop and Star Trek and Buffy.
Yeah.
That's basically who I am taste-wise. Like, and it's definitely been reinforced going through all my shit. And like, I don't know. Yeah, I think I've just like I've eliminated all the stuff in my life that isn't the stuff I don't like. Like, I don't know. What are the things within reaching distance of me right now? I have a postcard from Mystery Science Theater 3000, and let's see. I just got some weird
I guess,
some monster postcards.
You guys are really fixating on the stuff part of it, right?
Okay,
Or
yeah.
right now, like, and I just mean like it's almost like the identity thing versus the stuff, because like, yes, Xander has a car, but like he doesn't. The identity of a person who runs the car is like, oh, you have to be the driver, you have to drive places,
Right.
And you're like, and then these other responsibilities come from that. Versus,
Right.
like, the stuff is a part of it too, right? Because it's like, oh, I have all these things around me. I only surround me with things that I love, like totally, which I get. But like, you're representing yourself as a cartoonist. You're not representing yourself as a, well, maybe you're like, oh, I'm an illustrator. And then someone's like, great, I have a children's book I love illustrating. And you're like, oh, fuck, that's not me. But I guess
Oh, yeah, that does happen to me a lot. People request me to draw stuff that I don't want to draw, but I don't do it. Because I don't want to do kids' book illustrations. And like, I say I'm a cartoonist. I don't say I'm an illustrator. And
I feel like that's a decision you made fairly early on in your career, Dennis,
yeah.
about what you would and would not do, or what you are and are not capable of.
Yeah. And I don't regret it. If I made that decision and now 10 years later, I'm like, fuck.
Well, I mean, I feel like in the short term, that seems like a dumb decision. Like, why would any artist turn down work? But on the other hand, it's a really smart decision because I feel like artists that are successful are artists that can sell, like, I do this thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like no one's going to come to you to do anything but monsters now because...
Hopefully. Like, every now and then I get asked to do like a caricature or something. And I'm like, that's not my thing.
Yeah. But like, I feel like that's the second one where you specialize a little bit is probably the smarter way. I mean, I don't know as not a working artist, I feel like, but like as an outside observer, it seems like when people hire illustrators, they actually do hire them because of what they're good at.
Yeah.
With what Michael was saying though, so I draw comics too, like Dennis, and at my job at the bookstore, we have like a chalkboard, a giant one for the monthly calendar. And it's following me a lot of times. I have to like clean it off at the end of the month, and I really hate doing it because it just takes forever and it's like gross and stuff. And then like you have to like write up a new calendar. It's like whenever I do it, I just write. I don't do any additional drawings because it's like, no, drawing is what I do for me. I'm not going to do it like while I'm getting paid, this rate to like be working at the bookstore. And yeah, it's like this isn't what I want to do. Like, and also there's like other people that like. Maybe they're not as skilled at drawing, but they like drawing on the chalkboard because they think it's fun for them to do, and I'll let them do it.
Yeah.
So instead of being like, I think I might have drawn on it once and was like, hey, that was fun. But then like, I realized like, well, this isn't really my medium either. Like these chalk markers are kind of weird and not working with me like how I'm used to drawing. And like, it's like, I don't want to have to do this every month at my job just because they think like, oh, David draws the best, so he should do it.
But people know you are cartoonist, right? So they're like, David, why don't you draw a thing?
Or whenever there's something that's drawn like semi-decently up on the chalkboard, like the people, like my coworkers are like, oh, did you draw that? And I'm like, no, I don't like drawing on the chalkboard.
That just reminded me of your comic about Little Yoda doesn't dance. Like, no. All right. We'll move on to the next. I ask, how is there a race of female demons? Let's conjecture. because the demons responsible for opening the hellmouth, Buffy reads in a book that they're a warrior race of females. And I'm just like, how do you get a whole race of females?
It's like Themyscira or whatever, Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Where
Yeah.
did they come from? How did they get made?
Well, how did they make more Wonder Women? I mean, Amazons? Like,
They sculpt them out of clay.
Well, that was just the
That was for Wonder Woman. Yeah.
but they were created by
Zeus.
no. Well, it's Zeus in the movie, but it's Diana in the comic. I don't know my Wonder Woman books out. I could look it up.
probably Wikipedia is a better reference for
But
like.
they were created by the Greek gods. Maybe it was Hera. I don't know.
Is there a female demon goddess then that just creates the female demons? Like gives
Maybe.
birth from them?
Yeah, that's a possibility. Any other theories?
Males in chains, tortured, forced to, do their bidding when they need it.
Time for snoo.
Like maybe one, kind of like a queen bee, but the king demon, something like that.
John, you got anything?
No,
All right.
I don't. Sorry.
Yeah, I like Mike's answer. All right. Yoder, you got the next bunch of questions.
We don't have to do all of them. I think I'm more interested in maybe the top one. Have you ever been unintentionally a part of the crime life or been taken on a crime spree with your friends? Like you became the car man or wheelman, whatever. I do have a connection for this, and it's something that came up just recently that I was thinking about talking with another friend. That in college, I had this friend that she liked to shoplift a lot at stores, but I would be shopping there like legitimately, and so like we'd both go about our getting our materials or whatever, like often the art supply store because we were college students at an art school, and like then I'd go check out and I'd meet her, and as we're leaving and she'd be like, look at all this stuff I got, and I'd be like, oh my god, like because like I'm just too much of a rule follower. I'm not like good about breaking rules, and like anyway, that's my story.
Yeah, I've definitely had similar things to that happen. I dated a shoplifter for a little bit, and actually still have books in my collection that were gifts of shoplifting from Borders. The reason Borders closed.
Oh, that was also part of the conversation I was having with my friend. Was like knew someone in college that worked at a Borders or Barnes and Noble, and he told stories about how like he'd see guys with bags come in and just like put books in their bags and then like walk out and not pay for it, but like they weren't allowed to ask to search bags or to do anything, and he was basically completely powerless. It's like it was just like there for the taking, pretty much.
I remember my ex-girlfriend's brother was a really big shoplifter, and he would do it really brazenly. Like he'd be at Borders taking apart the DVDs to tear off the like tracking device, and just be doing it in the store. And then
Is this what I'm thinking it is?
yeah, I assume I can read your mind. Yeah,
Yeah, all right. I mean, a friend of ours, I'm thinking of a friend of ours who, like, I think it seemed gradual at the time, but in retrospect, it opened over like the course of like 2 years. It was like 1 minute he's like, oh, this is my crazy friend who's funny. And then like within a few years, it was like, I'm a drug dealer and here are my guns that I carry as a drug dealer. And that transformation freaked me the fuck out. And I think it actually at the time it seemed gradual, but actually looking back on it, it was so fast.
yeah.
That happened.
Yeah, basically somebody went from pretending to be something to actually being that thing.
Yeah.
By trying on that identity and then enjoying the identity hat.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, I just remember being in my kitchen being like, here are all the guns I carry, and there's 3 of them. And being like, oh my God, there's guns in my house!
Yeah.
Go away!
I remember driving him from Ohio to Indiana from to stay with me for a little bit. I was like, I shouldn't be in a situation, but
yeah, it was terrifying.
Yep, same person. Apparently wanted by the police, wanting to stay at my house, and I didn't understand that I was, an accomplice in that by letting him stay at my house.
Jeez.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed the shoplifting stories more than the serious stories.
Sorry to take it serious. Everybody.
This is a part of Yoder doesn't know about this. I don't think I ever talked to her.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was opening up a can of worms or whatever. I just thought it'd be fun. But anyway,
But my favorite unintentional crime life one is probably show season 1. There's a really funny scene, when they whatever. I'm not.
What?
No, it's Peep Show season 1. I can't think of the name of the character, but they're going to like a girlfriend's house or something like that, and they just start throwing rocks at the place.
Yeah.
And one character is just along for the ride and didn't realize they would be throwing rocks at a random girl's house, and then it's on the run. That kind of unintentionalness is really funny. Real life unintentional crime are always sad and upsetting, or like shocking.
I was thinking of like The Office, where Michael like unrealizingly like kidnaps or like that kid that's the pizza delivery guy is like holding him like in their office and not releasing him, because the pizzas were supposed to be on a coupon or whatever.
Yeah.
So the next question I had was just about feigning interest again, which I think we've covered pretty well. This is a very brief one. My noting that they're not baking a cake. Did anyone else notice the first time watching that like they're going into the hardware store? Xander doesn't think that's odd. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to just be like maybe like small Main Street downtown, like a hardware store would also have cooking supplies, like for like a legitimate cake sort of thing. Or,
I would like to point out that you can also not buy the like components for that exact bomb at a hardware store. Like they buy a can of black powder. You cannot just buy a giant can of black powder at a hardware store.
Well, maybe the hardware store is working like the magic store or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Their bomb was too sophisticated for them to have ever assembled.
Yeah.
More
Although
beer!
I get the idea they've assembled that bomb before, so it's like maybe they don't make this one bomb. Right?
Yeah, but there's definitely a shot where you see a giant can of black powder,
Yeah.
which like I've watched enough Mythbusters to know that you can't just go into the hardware store and buy black powder.
I think I thought that was a can of paint when I was watching.
Yeah. Oh, do I have the next one? If Xander had not stopped the bomb, would blowing up the school close the hellmouth?
Oh, that's a good point.
Or would it open it more? I don't know.
Yeah.
Not remembering the episode, even though I asked to be on this one, like when that end scene was happening, I was really trying to think ahead of like, okay, what really happens here? Like there is that big discrepancy with how the time is working, and like they do a terrible job of like the first time they show it, it's like an hour or whatever. Like, so initially I was like, oh, Xander's bluffing about how much time is left on the clock and only he can see it. So like he's scaring the guy off that way. And then my second thought was like, well, these zombies are like idiots. There's no way they made a working functional bomb that'll do anything. So maybe it'll count down and it'll just like be a dud.
Oh, you thought it might not have gotten disarmed? Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't remember how it actually ended.
Yeah, it would have been a bummer if they closed the hellmouth and then they all died in an explosion. So
it would have been a fun writerly thing to do. Do you guys ever read The Stand? There's like a famous scene in The Stand where Stephen King didn't know what to do with the story and then just had everyone die in a huge explosion. Like a bomb goes off and kills a bunch of characters. Similarly, you could just like, let's just get rid of them and start over with this gang of zombies. They're pretty cool.
Let's keep the same show name, but it's about the zombies now.
Yeah.
So the library is on the main floor and the bomb's in the basement, but that's not like directly underneath the library, right? Because the hellmouth that goes underneath the library, like straight to the...
Do we have a map of the high school?
No, I'm just saying like it'd be interesting if the bomb went off and like somehow it like closed the hellmouth back up because it like explodes up. And I don't know.
Yeah. The hellmouth seems to erupt right directly at the library, and if there is a basement under it, it seems not affected. So I assume the hellmouth isn't like a corporeal.
It's not a literal space.
Like it's like a portal or whatever that opens there. So it could just as well open like 3 feet in the air or something like that. But I don't know. And this, science of hellmouth might change. All right.
I have one last, the most important question. Maybe put too far down, but you too good to be dead?
Yes, I'm too good to be dead. Mike?
Yeah.
You think you're too good to be dead?
Yeah, too good to be dead. I don't want to be a part of a stupid death gang. A suicide club gang.
All right, you guys are no fun.
John, you're muted. You're muted, John.
Sorry. Thank you. I don't know if this is your chance at immortality. Are you saying you wouldn't take it?
You seem to still rot. I wouldn't want to be a rot boy.
But I mean, again, you're going to die eventually.
I'm okay with that. I'm not chasing immortality.
I'd have to think about it. I don't know if it's a decision I can make without really being presented with it.
All right.
Well, it's really easy to make that decision when Katie is around. So, yeah.
Was anyone else confused about him calling the knife Katie at first? Like, because they didn't. The girl that's into the cars, like, I thought maybe that's who Xander was talking about when he kept saying Katie. When he's like, the difference between us is that you have Katie and I feel Katie. I don't know. Like, I was just a little thrown the first time.
Oh yeah. No, because he pulls out the knife and he's like, I call her Katie.
Yeah.
He gave it a girl's name. Oh, yeah, very serial killer. All right.
Not an abnormal reaction to knife being presented.
That's true.
But we should make fun of them anyway.
Themes, deep stuff. Let's move on. All right. Yoder, are these all you on themes?
No, not all of them. I hope. There's one in the middle that's definitely not me.
Okay.
But I guess they're mostly all me. God, I'm sorry, you guys. Anyway, at the start of this episode, I wrote in my notes before even watching, I want to like Xander. I want Xander to be fun. And, like, I think that's just because of starting this rewatch with you guys doing your podcast that, like, realizing, like, how terrible Xander is most of the time, especially to his friends and everything, versus, like, my memory of what he is in the show. And I think a large part of that comes from this episode, actually. Like,
right.
Like, it's a standout one for me in my mind of, like, oh, Xander, that sort of thing, versus, like, oh, Xander, no.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is a good point to talk about, like, how Xander reads as a character now versus like, when I was in high school, and I really liked Xander, but he has been difficult to watch. So does this episode, like, change the feelings people have about Xander now? Was he good in this episode?
Well, that depends if this episode is a turning point for this character or not. And I'm hoping that it is, but I'm trying to figure out a prediction around that. But it feels like it could be an opportunity. Like, I think losing his virginity, having sex with Faith, and kind of overcoming something by himself, like a big supernatural, mess, is like gave him a lot of confidence to ignore Cordelia at the end when she was talking shit about him. I would hope that this new Xander is a more confident and helpful person, but I don't know how that would affect all aspects of him. Like, he's been shamed a bunch for his behavior in this season too, so like it would be a good opportunity for his character to turn around if that's what's going to happen with the show. But like, definitely all Xander to this moment, like, has been kind of challenging, right? Like,
yeah,
funny line, but like hard to love.
He's still problematic in this episode, like that line about playing the flugelhorn and not getting any trim, like that.
Yes,
just very gross on
that's
like so many levels.
And then he also has like a no homo moment where he's like,
"Yeah, we're just wrestling, but not
in a gay way."
Yeah. So like Xander does the like, I'm trying to have sex with everybody still, and he still does the I'm not gay, everybody there. He does that.
Yeah, which I feel like isn't a big deal for an actual high schooler. Like, I know we were that way.
Well, right. We were that way.
But
well, so
yeah, that's like the deeper stuff.
When Xander is written as everyman, right? To the extent that Xander is written as everyman, the everyman he's written as is us. We are the right gender, time, and place to be that guy.
Yeah, and that's why maybe we find him so awful.
Right, and so it's both why it's why we loved him when we were younger, and it's why we hate him now.
Yeah, we could relate to him then, whereas now, like, we don't want to relate to him because we hope we have grown past being that
Correct.
teenage version of ourselves. And I think maybe that's the most hopeful thing about this show then is, if we look at ourselves now, I'm hoping we're all better people than we were, 10, 12, 15 years ago.
We're better
whatever.
people, at least in as much as we're not Xanders. Like, I don't think any one of the 4 people who are on the podcast today
Yeah, and maybe
are men who are constantly seeking sex with all our female friends.
and maybe Xander, if his story carried out to present time,
Right.
he'd be a better man than he was as a high school student.
Oh, this I have a random. I bought some Buffy season 10 comics to check them out, and no spoilers on them or anything. But Nicholas Brendan has co-written some of them.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's interesting.
He wrote some a Xander arc that I read that was like really weird. Also,
Real life Xander is problematic.
had accidentally I thought I had finished reading Buffy season 9 like years ago, back when they were making those comics, but I definitely hadn't. So I was like, "What?"
Right.
But the Xander is in Buffy season 10. Xander's in a really weird place.
Okay.
Nicholas Brendan is at least partially responsible for that. So Buffy season 10 would actually be 2007, take place in 2007, I guess, right? Since the show started in 97. So still not our age.
Right. I mean, I guess to the extent that Xander is us, right? I guess the question is, how do we feel about that character?
I mean, I love how Yoder articulated it, right? Which is like, you don't like him because it's too much like how you used to be, and so you moved on, right? Like that's.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But we hope that this episode, or I hope, you guys know what happens, but I hope that this episode marks a change in the direction of this character, though I doubt it.
To what extent do you guys feel like there's already been a change? Because I feel like not like a major sea change or anything, but I feel like Horn Dog Xander has at least been toned down to some degree. Do you guys feel that a little bit?
Well, and I think he has seen consequences of actions of pursuing romantic relationships, because he's definitely hurt Cordelia. He's hurt his
right.
Oz and Willow's relationship. He also hurt the chance of him and Willow to continue to be able to be friends because he had this attraction and everything. And so hopefully these things, those are life events happening to him that will make him reconsider okay, maybe I shouldn't make slutty comments about Buffy or whatever, or
right.
Hopefully.
Well, I mean, definitely the having sex will hopefully have a positive impact on that character, because all of the sexual scenes that Xander gets into, or the hijinks, it's you want sex so badly, then it's offered to you in a way that surprises you and you're scared of it, and then what Xander's done traditionally is oh, I guess I got to run. But, in this world, he's had total rejection from Willow, right? And can't even be a part of that mission, because there's that, he sees Willow for a moment before, the faith scene happens. And she says, I love you, right? And it's oh, I think part of Xander's oh, maybe there's a thing. But clearly it's I'll never see, it's there's a never see you again vibe to it. And then, he saves Faith. And then Faith's yeah, I need to have sex. And that happens in, I don't know. My point was they're the virgin character, right? Who's super horny, this horny virgin character gets what they are asking for, but is scared to get it. And then they get it. And then they're he's now empowered to go after and pursue the villains in this quest. And that's a good, simple arc, but I like it because it's the fixation of needing to help out. Maybe he's trying to help out Buffy and Willow just so he can get in their pants at some point in the future, or whatever it is. He can now focus on the thing that he's been refocused in some ways. I don't mean to just mumble about this. I just know that the horny virgin thing I'm so tired of, and I'm glad that they conquered it, because the Miss French scenes, where he was supposed to hook up with praying mantis lady, that didn't happen. And so he and Willow didn't really happen. He and Cordelia didn't really happen. They didn't have sex, right? And so it's just that character just can keep being recycled. So it's he can move forward, we would hope.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Like
think
in a way.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Raider.
I was just gonna say, I think hopefully there's like some like chronicle of growth. Like if you look back to a specific moment, like the love spell episode, I don't think Xander now would do that. Like if he was in the same situation, like I think hopefully again that he wouldn't do that, and also like he would maybe react differently to it backfiring on him. You know, like with friends coming onto him and like.
He did
everyone
react
else.
differently when Willow was coming up with that anti-love spell.
That's
and
true.
He was like, I know those ingredients. Don't do that.
Well, yeah, but that was like a fear. I don't know. Yeah,
Different motivation. Okay.
right. Whereas now, like, hopefully you would respect that, like, well, using magic to put someone in love with you, like, that's not right.
No, I don't know. I think at the most I want to give it is that I think the show has recognized that they've gotten all the yucks they can out of that character, and that they're going to move on. I don't know, because it's not as though Xander is. I don't think Xander's had a moment of recognition of his previous ways, and there's no learning and moving on. That hasn't happened overtly.
Yeah, and in fact, when Willow is dealing with the consequences of their like kissing affair, Xander is very actively not, right. He's
right.
Like, in previous episodes has been like, when do we get to be done with being guilty? Like I'm not always going to be the guy who's guilty. Like he's actively not wanting to like face the consequences of.
Correct. And
yeah, I don't know. So Faith is not in this episode very much. She's got like 2 scenes, but she's there. I don't know if we want to talk about her some. I like Faith. I think I might be the only person on this podcast who does.
I don't know that I dislike Faith, but I like the role that Faith plays in this episode in a way, where she's like, I mean, on the one hand, she's just a catalyst for Xander, right? So maybe that's not the best way to have a female character. But on the other hand, I think that this is a moment that maybe I had as a young man, where I realized that whatever sex obsession I had was really just something I had to get over.
Yeah.
And having a woman who like didn't give a shit was actually helpful, because it's like, oh yeah, now I'm over it. Moving on. Like,
yeah.
I feel like that I relate to Xander in that respect, where like there's a young woman who's like, oh yeah, sex is about sex.
Yeah.
Well, I think. Sorry.
And I think what you said about like her being a catalyst for Xander, like that structurally is true, right? That's like what her point in this story is. But I think Faith has a deeper backstory and longer story arc that we're just not. The show is doing a disservice to the character and not showing enough of. At
this moment, anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, just because I think she's going through different stuff. Like, I mean, obviously she's going through way different stuff than Xander. Her world's totally different than Xander's. But, like, we only get these weird glimpses of it because she disappears for episodes at a time. I just think it's like the way Faith is so different from Buffy is really apparent in this episode, because this is like the most we've seen Faith up to this point interacting with somebody that's not Buffy, right?
Right.
And just like that, she's going through similar stuff as Buffy, but like being Slayers and being the chosen and alone and stuff, but is like dealing with it in totally different ways.
I would say Faith is the catalyst for Xander, like you guys have said, but I think it's more about how Buffy and Whedon like to subvert, your expectations of what is typically in roles. And so, like, she's the one using Xander for sex instead of, the other way around. So that's kind of how I saw it more, I guess, which is overt in the show too. But.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also like the way Xander reacts to it, as though like, I don't know, because there's sex as pleasure, but there's also sex as achievement, right? And Xander gets this like sex achievement. He's like, achievement unlocked, had sex, and also like not only that, like had sex with this like Amazon warrior, right? And he gets this like big boost to his self-confidence. It's like, I had sex with Faith. Holy shit. And that is both an achievement and disappointing for him, I think, in this weird way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they have that like brief romantic moment where you think Xander is like, oh, he's going to obsess. He wants this. And I don't think he won't. I think that is something the show's going to do. But like also like she's like, out the door. See ya. Which is so important for Xander. For him to be used a little bit.
Yeah, that should
For
be a
that sexual transaction to be clearer for him. Like it's so important because this guy does not know how to turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to hear a prediction when we get to predictions, maybe from you, Mike, about like how Xander's going to interact with Faith going forward.
Oh, well,
yeah,
Show. Yeah.
It's definitely a meta Buffy episode. It's like this is Buffy's. I don't know if it's its first, but this might be Buffy's first truly meta episode. This is the Jose Chung's from Outer Space of Buffy.
Yeah, it's definitely the show's definitely had its meta moments. Like it's had its like dropping Tuesday as like day things happen. But yeah, this is the first like full meta episode, definitely. There's another one of Xander is willing to die by bomb. Is this only after getting used for sex by Faith? That was in the case anyway.
Well, yeah, just because he's also had a very low moment in the show, like where his friends are saying like, oh, you're not useful you're at most useful for getting donuts, and you're not even useful enough to get donuts for a second run because we don't want to put you in danger in what's going on in the story at large here. So, yeah.
He's good enough at getting donuts that he got 4 jellies, which sounds insane, but is actually not even enough for this.
It's not enough
group. Yeah, I don't know. I know that was not a question about jelly donuts.
And Michael, I guess I feel like like this is kind of the point of the show is that like this is your first time watching it, and I just enjoy like getting your opinions and things because they're different than like mine, having been with the show for a while. But do you feel like you missed out on like the fake like Ace story about the hellmouth and things that like we'll never know? Like, do you wish you had seen what actually was going on, who the villain was that they faced, or was this satisfying for you? Did you really enjoy it? Like everything with Xander?
Oh yeah, no, I enjoyed this episode. I was just faked out and for a little bit, as I mentioned earlier, about what this episode was going to be about, but it became clearer that it was about Xander. But it is weird not to get the satisfaction of understanding what the story is because the Hellmouth opening is such a big deal on the show.
Yeah,
and for it to be treated so casually is hilarious and off. But it just shows how much more important the Watcher Council story is versus the Hellmouth story in this season. Like the Hellmouth is a great season 1 story, and I guess a season 2 story, right? Well, however they knock Angel into hell, it's not the Hellmouth exactly.
It's a different Hellmouth.
Yeah.
Hell has many mouths.
Right, so it's like,
but only one anus.
Oh, God.
Everything's got to get bigger every season, right? So, we got to move on past the Hellmouth now. It's not going to reopen. That's not the big crisis. So I got that. I think the big crisis has to be around the Watcher Council next, because as in the opening of this episode, they're just reminding you, last time on Buffy, and they just show Giles getting fired. Like, yeah, this is going to be about the Watcher Council for the end of season 3 is a prediction.
I guess the other thing I would want to ask you too is, do you think the show did too good of a job of making like Xander seem completely pointless to the group? Like he doesn't serve a purpose. Like, is that a problem for you? Like going forward, that like what's his role to play other than being funny, horny guy?
Oh gosh, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't think I just assumed he'd get back in the group and not that he now is pointless.
It is interesting they even like one of the notes I wrote that I forgot to type up was why are people worried about Xander getting hurt now, like mid season 3? Like maybe he should have been left from the group like years ago, right?
Yeah.
What about this episode like makes people be like, no, Xander, you're just a baby boy. Don't.
He's literally the same friend that like died in the first season or whatever. He hasn't died yet or whatever.
But he has been useful. So I mean, I disagree. I mean, the show is saying he's useless for this thing, but like he has that crazy military knowledge from the last time. Yeah,
Mhm.
from when he like became a soldier in the Halloween episode, right? Like,
Yeah, I've
and
done
that was-
quality violence for these people.
yeah, and he has done quality violence, and he has been useful, if only like to be the guy that gets clobbered first, like so that someone else gets a break, or at least the way they shoot, the fight choreography. And then he was able to get that rocket launcher to destroy the blue
The
guy,
judge.
the judge. Yeah,
Yeah.
like he's been useful, but it is sad to see him like totally useless. But like I felt that way about him for a while. So like I'm glad the show addressed it, and now he can figure something else out about himself. I mean, I don't think he's gonna become a witch like Willow or something, but
Yeah,
he's got to
you don't need a group with 2 magic users. Like they got the fighter. I don't know. They need
A bard.
a bard. Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, man. I was a bard the last time we played Dungeon World. It was I was trying to make up songs in real life, like very annoying for everybody. Why don't we move on to predictions?
Predictions. Okay. So at this moment, Mike, do you know what your percentage is?
like 68.
69.
69, dude.
Oh, still at 69. You're hovering at 69. We've been to 68. We've been to 70, but you just want to stick at 69. So, all right. Now we've got a lot of predictions here that are relevant to this episode that may or may not be confirmed in any direction. So, I'll just go through some things here. All right, bear with me. Season 2, episode 15, Mike says, this is not the last time that someone will assume that Xander is gay. Now, Xander has a no homo moment. Does anybody actually assume Xander is gay other than Xander? I think not.
Yeah.
Still,
I don't think he's... Okay, that's still open. All right. Mike says there will be more Xander ogling scenes, meaning scenes in which we ogle Xander, not in which Xander ogles others. Do we ogle Xander? Is Xander sexy for the consumption of the gaze of the camera at any point other than when he was in his Speedo way back in season 2, episode 20?
I
I don't think so.
Does he get shirtless in this episode?
I think
I
you
don't
see
think
his
so.
back though. You don't see like
Yeah.
his front.
Yeah, that seems more about Faith taking her shirt off than
There's
Xander.
some
Agree.
severe chest stuff. It's just not in slow motion. But, like,
Okay,
it's just-
Yeah.
In season 3, episode 5, Mike predicts that there will be a spider monster. Now, the monster that comes out of the hellmouth is really more of a tentacle monster, but anybody want to make the argument that it's a spider monster?
That totally doesn't count.
Okay, I just checking. Okay, so season 3, episode 7, the Watcher Council is concerned with bigger shit than Buffy and Giles. Now we said this is still considered open as of the last episode, but the fact that nobody in the Watcher Council wants to let Giles know about anything apparently now. Do we want to say that they are concerned with bigger shit? Because apparently they don't even need to let Giles know about a nest of demons in his own backyard.
Yeah.
Are they
I guess.
concerned with bigger shit? Do you want to... It seems like they might be, but it's not like directly stated.
Yeah, I almost feel like we should have given this to him last episode when we saw more about what the Watcher.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. We decided not to last episode, so I don't know.
They do seem like they're pretty much at the drop of a hat. Like if there was a new Slayer and a new Watcher, like that wasn't like they don't care about these people specifically. It's about like fulfilling the roles of like this is what has been throughout time, sort of thing. I think more.
Yeah. Was that prediction more about like whether they're actively fighting monsters outside of the Slayer, or if they're doing like other kinds of work or something?
I have no idea.
Well, I thought my thought the prediction was that like the Watcher Council does not care about Giles and Buffy that much. They care about this, you turn 18 ritual and making sure that she's probably killed. Like they would rather have her killed. Apparently, like they don't.
Yeah.
The hellmouth opening hasn't really perturbed them that much. Giles' need for help, like Faith living destitute. Like they don't care about Slayers. They have other stuff. What are they watching? They're watching for bigger stuff than this.
I feel like if we didn't do this last episode, we might be waiting for a better sign. But we could make
We're waiting for a bigger sign because this isn't like there wasn't any clear interaction with the Watcher Council. They refused a phone call, and the hellmouth.
Right.
The lack of.
Well, we don't know what
exactly the lack of interaction is
you don't know what
the message.
It hasn't been confirmed what it is.
Okay. I think when Mike himself is saying it's not confirmed.
Well, I
so
don't think it is.
do you remember that when Oz was locked up in the cage and Will was like, "Oh yeah, sometimes dogs can sense a earthquake coming or whatever." It's like that. So does this count for Oz's powers of smell will come in handy again?
No.
Is Oz smelling anything, and is that coming in handy?
No.
Okay. It's close. I just thought I might bring it up. Okay. All right. This one is hotly debatable. Oh, wait. Oh, no, it's not. It's actually not debatable at all. Excuse me. So Mike predicted that Xander will lose his virginity to a monster in season 4.
Denied.
So that's obviously not season
that's
4,
wrong on
so
both
we don't know.
accounts.
But
Yeah.
wait a second.
I know. I go. Something happened. I was like, as soon as
Right. No, I was also thinking about way back. Mike also predicted Xander will have sex with a monster that he doesn't know is a monster. Now, I don't want to get into spoilers in any way, shape, or form, but is Faith a monster?
No.
She hasn't been
Not
shown
yet.
to be yet, if that's the case.
Okay.
But we were she's
What's
a
a
slayer.
monster?
She's a
What's
slayer.
a monster?
I mean, I would guess Buffy's mom was saying that slayers and vampires are the same thing.
Exactly. What
but-
constitutes being a monster? Is being
We
superpowered enough to be a monster?
No.
Slayers
because
aren't
Buffy's
monsters. You can't
Buffy's
say
not a
that. Yeah.
monster. And
Okay.
because also another part of that prediction is a monster, but he doesn't know it's a monster, and we all know Faith is a slayer.
Okay.
All
right. I'll leave that one open. Okay.
No, it's closed.
Well, it's two separate predictions, right? About
I
the
mean, he can
virginity
still
and
have sex with a monster.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, in season 4. I didn't say virginity, right? Just
No, it just says. Well, so okay. There's two
the
different ones.
virginity one is gone.
There's Xander will have sex with a monster that he doesn't know is a monster. There's that one.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, that one can still be open. Yes.
Okay. And then there's also well, a second, let me find it.
Pretty sure you said it's Xander will.
Xander will lose his virginity to a monster in season 4. Okay, that one's denied
Yes.
because he's not going to lose his virginity in season 4, no matter what kind of a creature it's to.
Unless there's time travel virginity loss, which is
Yeah,
possible.
that'd be
It's
some serious
possible.
retconning.
I'm going to go ahead and spoil. There's no time travel virginity loss for Xander. Let's spoil that right here and now. Okay. So that's a denial.
I'll send the spider guy back in time to when I was a kid, so I'm not obnoxious.
Oh,
Or-
it's a spider monster too, so you get that prediction as well.
I'm trying to feed my prediction.
Oh no, it's the super prediction where Xander travels back in time and has sex with a spider monster who is also Cordelia, who is temporarily evil.
At the end.
Or
But
whatever.
it solves him of some childhood trauma.
That might get me to a 72. Totally worth it.
Okay, let's see. All right. Now, does Willow master the 4 elements in this episode? She does some more advanced spells. She seems like she might be past mastering the 4 elements, but it's not explicitly said so.
I think if you're making fog, that's got to be 2 elements, right? That's heat,
Air and water.
air and water. Yeah. So it's 2 elements down. If we saw earth shake during it, and
Right.
fire.
Okay. So we're going to leave that open.
Well, yeah, because I think it's actually 3 then, because that's fire, water, and
Yeah.
with the cloud. So just earth. Waiting on earth, folks.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Giles will be missing some knowledge in the future because he's missing his books. Now, he's missing knowledge in this episode because of his connection to the Watcher Council. Is there any sense that, he might be able to do this if he had his books?
Well, that could maybe make more sense. I mean, it's nothing overt in the show, but the fact that he is trying to get in touch with the Watchers Council for answers, maybe it's because he doesn't have his trusty books or as many of them to refer back to.
I feel like that's reading into the text. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you had just predicted Giles will be missing some knowledge because of these events.
Yeah.
Because the book thing was about, because I thought maybe the books were burnt in the
Right.
gingerbread episode, right?
Right. Okay. Finally, Giles will continue to train Buffy. Is Giles last time we saw Giles not a watcher anymore. It's clear they still have a relationship. It's not clear that they're training per se.
I don't think we saw enough of their side of things to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So
But
we need
Giles
like a
is still
training
involved.
montage.
Yeah. We need to wait for the next training montage. Is that what we're saying?
Unless it doesn't have to be a physical training, right? It could be mental training. That's part of the
Right.
watcher,
But is Giles training her in this season or in this episode?
It seems like they're working together, but
Yeah, they're definitely working together.
Yeah.
Is there training?
I guess not.
Okay. So we're down. There's basically one denial, no confirmations this episode then. So Mike, you're now at a 68.1. So you're no longer at a 69. You're at a 68.
0.1.
Well, I have too many new predictions. You can just copy paste them from here at the bottom. Here.
Let me see. Okay. Predictions.
So they're all about ton about Xander and Faith, and I've been very specific.
Oh, whoa. That is a ton of predictions. Holy shit.
So let me get into it.
Okay.
Xander will tell people about his hooking up with Faith. Will tell people.
Fair prediction.
He cannot help himself. Faith will be slut-shamed by Xander in a future episode. And by that, I mean, Xander will throw some shade at Faith.
okay.
Faith will have sex with someone other than Xander.
Buffy.
Xander
Do you have
will
a
not-
time frame for that? Or
Oh, when Faith will have sex with other than Xander? In season 3. I mean, it'll be this season for sure. Let me just write that in there. Xander will not have sex with Faith again. However, Xander will make out with Faith again. They'll make out,
Oh.
and then there's going to be like a moment, and he's like, hey, maybe, and she's like, oh, shoot. And then nah, I'm not doing this because you want it too bad. This is some weird puppy fixation thing or whatever it is. However, I don't know how it'll be written by one of the billion writers for the show. And then Xander is not over Faith. He thinks that something should happen. He's going to say it out loud. He's going to make that clear. And then the season 3 finale will be about Buffy and team versus the Watcher Council. And then last one, Oz will kill again.
Oz will kill again. All
Let me
right.
to gloss over season 3 finale.
if
what?
Oz kills again, do you think he'll remember the next time?
I mean, he'll remember it this time.
The only
No,
one of
because he
these that
said
I
he was
feel like
strangely full.
Might
his
be-
memory of his werewolf periods.
Just
Mike-
remember, at the end he
No.
says he was strangely full. I don't think he knows he killed someone.
You want to make a prediction about that, or we could just talk about it? It doesn't have to.
Sorry.
John was about to say something else. Sorry, my brain didn't follow you guys.
Oh no, just like you say that you hope this is the turning point for Xander. I that seems hard to rule on.
Oh, I don't
think that's
that's not a prediction.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't turn it into a prediction. I wrote it
I
down
see.
like maybe I'll think of something like I don't-
Okay, all right, that's removed then. Okay, I'm sorry.
I don't know what Xander's powers will be. Like,
All right,
Xander will continue to be the bard. I mean, I don't know. That doesn't.
right.
Are we allowed to try to coerce predictions still or not?
Yeah, you are.
Michael, do you think will Xander continue to be the car guy or not?
No,
Will
Xander's
that
not
be
the
his
car
identity?
guy. Xander will not continue to be the car guy.
I don't know
Is
if
that- is that a
is
prediction?
worth being
Yeah.
a prediction or not. But
Oh shit! But Xander's going to use the car. Will be used. The car will be totaled in season 3. Let me just say that.
Okay.
What do we call it? What's the type of car?
The Bel Air, Chevy Bel Air.
The
I
Chevy.
mean, it's not even his though; it's his uncle's, right?
That doesn't matter. The Chevy Bel Air will be totaled in season 3.
Okay.
I think this might be a Yoder troll, but I'm in.
That was
It's
me in
odd
high school.
'cause Oz was already the guy with the van, right? They don't need another car guy. Xander just totally forgot about that. All right, that was predictions. You want to move on to kill count?
Woo!
Let me find my sheet of paper. 4 dead zombies and only 3 dead demons that we saw. But I am presuming that more died off camera, but I can't make a number count. But the trio at the beginning were the only like confirmed dead zombies. But I assume there was more members of that group, and monsters could have died at Willie's bar. But I don't know. So that's the number. All right. Recommendations.
I already have a song. You don't have to.
I knew there was a song going to be playing, and then that thing happened with my mouth. All right. I recommend the movie Tromeo and Juliet because it makes John upset. No, because it has a couple of different car crash scenes that are similar to the car death in this. And it is a fun movie. I don't care what John says. It's really gross. I think it's probably the best of the Troma Studio movies. It's written by James Gunn, who also wrote and directed the next movie I'm about to recommend. And it's the very first superhero movie I've ever recommended on Buffy Virgin, The Specials. It's his first superhero movie. It's kind of about the superhero losers. It's the team that's like not even the B team. They're like the C or D team. And it was made before superhero movies were popular, so it was like not like a well-noticed movie at the time. It would have been really big now. But it's got Thomas Hayden Church and Rob Lowe and Jamie Kennedy in it, and it's pretty funny. And it's just like if the team is all Xanders, right? But it's in this world where there are bigger superheroes. I also, because it's a car episode, got to recommend Christine. I really feel like Xander thought this episode was going to be more like Christine for him. Like, because that same thing happens with the main character in that, where he gets the car and he's suddenly cool, right? I actually have a really hard time watching that movie because the guy's best friend, the like hero guy, is named Dennis, and I'm just not used to like Michael and John are probably used to people with their names on TV, but I'm not. I find it really distracting when it.
I am used to that.
Yoder had the next one.
Oh, did you put it in there for me? I forgot. Yeah. Runaway Daughters, directed by Joe Dante. It very much revolves around a car as well, and it's got a young Paul Rudd and Julie Bowen.
Whoa, wait, a Joe Dante movie I haven't seen? Holy shit.
Yeah, it's good. It never came out on DVD. I think it's on VHS.
Runaway Daughters?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's fun. It has like, it's Joe Dante, and it has like it's his cameos of all his favorite people and stuff.
Oh, I'm watching that tonight.
Good. Yeah. It's like probably of Joe Dante movies, it's most similar to like Matinee.
I was going to say that would be a good pairing.
Matinee is pretty good.
Yeah. And then because this episode is named after Marx Brother, I had to list one Marx Brothers movie. So I picked Horse Feathers because that's the one where they go to college. So that's most similar to their experience. It's funny. I mean, the Marx Brothers are funny. If you haven't seen a Marx Brothers movie, you should.
Agree.
All right. I think that's it. So I'm, as always, going to promote my stuff. You can buy my comic, The Land of Many Monsters and Many More Monster Tales, and my old graphic novel, Amelia, both on Amazon. You can find my comics at Dennis Comics on Twitter and on my own site. And find me. Michael, what's going on with you?
Oh, I started a vlog. I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I met a vlogger, and now I would like to vlog for a while.
Can we find your vlogging?
Oh, you can just Google Michael Poley, and you'll find me. I'm the number one Poley that shows up in my own searches. But I'm on YouTube. All my vlogs are on YouTube. My username is MP197400, which I desperately need to change. So,
Michael, you weren't born in 1974.
Nope. It's just my username assignment from Ohio University when I was a student there. And I did in my YouTube channel name whenever I made that in 2006. So anyway, that needs to change. But yes, I have a vlog. I've been vlogging about my life. Please comment. Let me know what you'd like me to try vlogging now. It's mostly about my hobbies.
And Yoder, what do you have to promote?
Well, I make comics. I do a somewhat weekly, not always weekly, but a movie review and comic forum with my friend David Carter. He does a written review, and I do the comic one. He hasn't done the written review yet, but the most recent one we did was for the Florida Project. It's a new movie out with Willem Dafoe as a motel manager in Florida. And I guess the other thing I'd like to plug, which I want Dennis maybe to try to plug more in the future, is our own stupid podcast called Two Dummies and a Dumb Movie, where we just chat over a subpar bad movie. Not anything even as good as a bad Buffy episode, but usually monsters and stuff, and we drink and make jokes.
Yep. I was promoting your future podcast last week.
Oh, I heard that. I need to get the ball rolling on that. But that was maybe the thing I was starting to think of, Michael, when you were talking about being the sound guy. It's like, uh-oh, I don't know if I really want to peg myself as the Smallville guy that, like, now I have to, like, devote all this time to Smallville, because I know it's terrible on a lot of levels, and that would be part of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
well,
maybe
that's stop writing Smallville into your own comics.
Well, we'll see.
I mean, I'm the Buffy guy with my friends now, so just be wary of what you're doing there, Yoder. Well, it's too late. It's too late now.
John, do you have anything to promote?
No, I have nothing whatsoever. I'm in this amazing podcast called Buffy Virgin. Everyone should know about.
How could one find Buffy Virgin?
I have no idea. I'm not connected with that aspect of it.
You can find us on iTunes or wherever you can find your podcast. We're on Twitter at Buffy Virgin Pod. We're on Instagram, Buffy Virgin. We're on Facebook as Buffy Virgin. And you can watch us on YouTube. That is where you can find us. All right. Well, have a great week, everybody. And I'll see you in hell.